So hello and welcome to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever by the lovely and luscious Lucas Holland.
Hello there.
And Wiki Weekends, for those, or Wiki Weekdays I should say, is a podcast series where myself and Lucas scour the lengths and breadths of the internet for a wiki on a subject we're interested in, and bring it forward for discussion. And this week we brought forward two rather conflicting and different wikis, but we still had interesting conversations nonetheless.
I'd like to hope so, yeah. Like, I'm doing my best to, try and make sure that we didn't talk too much about my subject, because I may have just had the habit of getting into Pokemon again, and I'm sorry that I've been playing one video game a lot, but we did branch that off into a wider discussion about, like cozy games and simulator games and things like that.
Yeah. Like, Pokemon was the lead-off topic, but we jumped off and talked about other things such as Super Buff Nurse Joy from the cartoon that one time. Our desire to see Viva Pinata come back, it back. We need Lucas, the Profitamon. The fucking Profitamon! Meanwhile, I talked about April Fool's Day pranks, and then we went off on a huge-ass tangent about the single most frustrating TV show I've ever watched.
Or two of them, I guess.
Two of them.
Yeah.
So if you stick around to the end, you'll find a recommendation for the single most frustrating TV show you'll probably ever watch. But, you can find out more about it afterwards. But speaking of very cute animals like the Profitamon, we have on screen one of our patron perks. We have Ham John.
Yeah, or Pet of the Week.
So our Pet of the Week, that's a gimmick where we invite our audience who support us over on our Patreon to submit pictures of pets, or in this case, an animal that just appears around their location.
Yeah, just
to our Discord.
Live near their bins in work, apparently, and just apparently they must be strays or just cheeky cats that might be just knowing where they can go get a snack, right?
Yeah, so a member of our Discord submitted a picture of two cats, one of which you can see pictured on screen right now, called Ham John, because they feed it ham and it lives near their work. And it probably is just a cat that belongs to someone.
Mm-hmm. Well, you live near one like that, right? Just a cat that, the owners have to put, a sign where they always wait.
It's not homeless, yeah.
We feed the cat.
It was a Pokestop for a while, and, it just sits outside my old building where I used to live.
Yeah, I was going to say where you used to live, but...
Yeah, it was like I said, it was just this cat, this big fat orange cat, and it's called Garfield, and it was a Pokestop for a while. It doesn't go there anymore. And the owners put a sign this is my cat, he just likes to sit here, you don't need to feed him. And every day you go and they'll be like, here's a ham sandwich or a bottle of water or some cat food. And one time I walked past hot cross buns. There were just 6 open hot cross buns outside the little cat bed. Which I found just, why? He doesn't need this. Well, yeah, we have Ham John. It probably does belong to somebody. Mm-hmm. Also, why did I call it John Ham?
Yeah, I was worried
John
about that. Just, surely you call it John Ham, but yeah, Ham John.
I guess. All I think of is that guy who's I'll put a GoPro on my cat to see what it does when I'm not at home. And he just went to a sewer. He just spent 90% of his time in the sewer. It's for fuck's sake.
And Unpicked is also Victor Sausage. So if you join our Discord, you can go check out pictures that are submitted for the Pet of the Week.
Yes, or you can join our Patreon and submit your own. You can also join our Patrons, become one of our Patreon producers, our PPs, or our big PPs, and get shouted out not only in the video, but towards the end in the special shout-outs we record each and every month.
Mm-hmm. You can indeed.
But without further ado, Lucas, should we lead off into your wiki?
Let's go.
So, Lucas, what have you brought for us to discuss this week, mon frere?
Well, Karl, I've returned to a very familiar well because I've got a problem with my life right now, Karl.
What is this problem you've got with your life?
Pokemon Pocopia is ruining my life, Karl.
Fuck's sake! How many Pokemon topics have we done?
I know, but I'm not talking about Pocopia specifically, but I did bring up the wiki for Ditto because this thing is it's got its hooks in me, Karl. I'm sorry.
Okay, so Pocopia is a new game. It came out a couple of weeks ago. And you've not messaged the group chat about... Me and Lucas have a group chat where we just talk to each other as friends. You've not messaged it much about this game, but also you've not messaged it much at all. Is that because you've just been in this game?
Mm-hmm.
You've been deep in?
I'm deep in. I'm dittoing it up. And yeah, it's it's one of those things where just like, yeah, Ditto has come in and he's just like taking
Explain
the
the game
steel
to me,
chair
then.
to the
What
back
is
of my
this
life.
game?
So,
I don't have a Switch 2.
I've got a wiki page up for Ditto. Ditto is the main character of Pokemon Pocopia, but yeah, Pokemon Pocopia itself is kind of like a blend of a few games. So it is made by the people who made Dragon Quest Builders, and it is a Pokemon-themed version of that, but I understand most people don't know what that game is, so think of it as like a Pokemon blend between like a Minecraft and an Animal Crossing game.
Okay, because I saw it initially advertised and thought it's close to Viva Pinata. Is it not close to Viva Pinata?
It is, but again, even referencing Viva Pinata at this point is something that a game that most people aren't going to remember that well, right?
That's true, and it's a shame. So, Viva Pinata, you know what? That's now on my list. At some point in the future, I want to talk about Viva Pinata because people need to know.
Yeah, maybe that should have been what I brought up today, Viva Pinata. So, like, we can discuss Viva Pinata as well and like have a broader discussion.
I do it in a video.
Again,
I'll put clips in.
Oh no, yeah, but I mean, like, we can have that a broader discussion about not just Ditto, but like these kinds of games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just one of those of like, it's the classic thing of, yeah, Animal Crossing was the thing that made a lot of people buy a Switch, and now people are hearing
You got a lot of people through the
Pokemon.
pandemic.
Yeah, exactly, right? And a lot of people I've seen online being like, finding out that Pokemon Pocopia is a Switch 2 only game, going, well, I guess it's time, right? I guess the Switch 2 needs to be bought, because all I'm getting told is, hey, this is Pokemon, but like Animal Crossing.
Yeah, like this is a game that you will spend potentially hundreds and hundreds of hours playing if it scratches the particular itch in your head that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that Animal Crossing did, I should say. And that's a very, attractive value add for a lot of people. Of, hey, if you buy a Switch 2, there's this game that you can play and you're going to get months of enjoyment out of it.
Also, do you want to play a Pokemon game that's a good video game?
That is a novelty. I'd look forward to that.
It is, right? Nowadays, right? Like, and
well, this is Wiki Weekends, Lucas, or Wiki Weekdays. I want to know about Ditto. So you pick Ditto, tell me about Ditto.
So, Ditto, or in Japanese, Metamon, is a normal type Pokemon introduced in the first generation. And of course, the famous thing about Ditto is the transform Pokemon. So, obviously, Karl, you're familiar with Pokemon quite well. I'm sure a lot of people watching probably are too. But, yeah, Ditto, literally all it knows how to do is transform.
And mimic another Pokemon. And for all intents and purposes, in the games in which it appears, it becomes a perfect copy of that Pokemon. Mm-hmm. Save for the fact it has like 5 every move, I think. That's the limitation. I've never really used it competitively because it's just not that great.
Yeah, so either you can use its hidden ability Imposter to immediately transform into whatever you're fighting, or you can, if you don't have that ability, then you can just throw your Pokemon out. Ditto can use transform and become a copy of the Pokemon that is fighting. And again, as you say, Karl, not sure exactly how it worked in every single generation, but the way it works in at least the modern games is that, yes, you become an exact copy of that Pokemon, but you only get 5 uses of each move, regardless of how much, power points, PP, the opposition has.
And I think, obviously, I still like Pokemon. I've still got a whole lot of knowledge. I remember once reading, a breakdown of, here's the most busted strat you ever did see in doubles. And for a brief moment, Ditto had a place in doubles in Pokemon, which is just 2v2 format where you have 4 Pokemon in total, 2v2. And it's and you have limitations on how many legendary or mythical Pokemon you can bring in. Someone realised if you bring a Ditto with you, you can just use your Ditto and transform it into your mythical Pokemon and essentially have 2 of one of the best Pokemon in the entire game and just fuck people up.
Yep.
Roll it with 2 Mewtwo's. Mew squared.
Yeah, you've only got 5 of each move, but when you're using a Pokemon that is that powerful, that's all you need.
And what wiki specifically are you referring to? Bulbapedia, I imagine. It's always Bulbapedia,
of course,
right?
Yeah. I'm on Bulbapedia.
Good old Bulbapedia.
Which is, probably I'd say the most well-used, Wikipedia when it comes to Pokemon information. I think, there's 2 things that I go to when it comes to Pokemon, and I either go to Cerebi.net, which is, where you find all the information that you need about all of the video games and the news and things like that, or you go to Bulbapedia when you want to find out about the Pokemon specifically.
Yeah, so go on, tell me about Ditto. What does Bulbapedia have to say about good old Ditto?
So, Ditto, it says here, is not known to evolve into or from any other Pokemon, which is... I always like that in the Pokemon universe, is that the way they've
known to.
Yeah, the way they've got to explain the fact that we keep getting new Pokemon in each game is like, well, we just haven't discovered them yet. It's like, what do you mean we hadn't discovered that Pikachu can produce baby Pikachus in the form of Pichu? We didn't know about eggs yet.
There's precedent for it in this world. Of like you hear all the time with scientists of there's these creatures that are very well known. Like, for example, blue whales. Blue whales, everyone knows blue whales exist. We know they're out there. We know they're the biggest, living mammal that swims around the sea. Scientists have never seen them give birth. Presumably they do. They have to.
What?
Because they live so deep in the ocean and so far away. And they're so seldom observed in the wild. We've never seen one give birth.
That's insane, yeah.
Exactly. Stuff like that, right? If, we know that it must do that, but it's never been directly observed as far as anyone is aware.
And that's the thing, right? Is especially when it comes to the sea, where we've not really discovered much of the sea, right? It's just, we think we know some large creatures down there. We don't think that we know the largest things in the ocean. They're just past where we've been able to observe.
Oh man, the one that scares me, because I've got I think it's thalassophobia, the fear of open water or large open water. Yeah. When I read about the double-decker bus-sized lobsters, are you familiar with the bus-sized lobsters?
No.
So lobsters, I'm not sure if they technically are, but they're considered by many experts to be biologically immortal in the sense that they don't suffer from senescence the way that most species do. Senescence being aging, your cells breaking down, your hair goes grey, your muscles deteriorate. Lobsters don't have that. They just keep getting bigger as they molt. And eventually the energy required to molt is so great that they just die. But theoretically, given infinite space and plentiful food and a complete absence of predators, there is no reason to say that a lobster couldn't just keep getting bigger. And there are theories that someone out there on the ocean floor are bus-sized lobsters. And you know what? I'm good.
Yeah, I like to always think of it in my head is that every creature that you can imagine in the Fallout universe, it does exist. It's just somewhere at the bottom of the ocean. We haven't found it yet.
Well, it's I think recently, I'm not sure about that blue whale thing. I'm not sure if it's still true today, but do you see I think it was last year, they finally got footage of a giant squid. A creature we know exists, but we only know it exists via the markings left on sperm whales and stuff of this sperm whale either attacked or was attacked by a giant squid. And they saw in the wild. It's fucking ginormous.
These feet-long giant scars. And it's somebody must be able to produce those scars. We just, in theory, know that it's out there. But
we know that theoretically it exists. We've just never observed it. And occasionally they catch glimpses of one. And I think it was footage shot from a boat. So we've seen footage under the sea of it going past a camera, but someone got footage of one from a boat. And I just look at that and go, it's no wonder sailors hundreds of years ago thought there were sea monsters. Because that's a monster.
That is a monster. Because you can 100% know that there's this mythical thing that one pirate ship saw these giant
fighting a whale. So they probably saw it fighting a whale, and they know that whales are bigger than ships in some cases and can capsize a ship. It's well, if this thing's fucking fighting a whale and it can take a whale out, what chance has our ship got? So the idea of something the Kraken coming up and grabbing everybody, it's not as far-fetched as you think.
And obviously that's it's easy to see how that becomes an exaggerated tale where all of a sudden it's not a giant squid that's the size of a whale. It's a giant squid that's the size of 10 whales, right?
Yeah, it eats the whales whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that reminds me of when I was at a museum once getting a tour, and they were showing us those old embroideries and tapestries where here's a heraldic lion, and they thought lions look like this, and it looks fucking stupid, and it's and you'll notice there's a unicorn. And the person giving the tour is well, you might be inclined to believe a unicorn is a fanciful thing to think to exist. Well, think now, if you had no idea what a giraffe was, and I described a giraffe to you of this like 20-foot tall spotted creature with a neck that is that long, would that sound anything more far-fetched than a horse with a horn on its head?
That's the thing, right? Like,
what sounds more far-fetched?
A horse with a horn is not that far-fetched. The idea that they can fly around and fart rainbows, maybe.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, the idea of, is it really that weird that a horse might be able to have a horn?
Like, what is, like, for you, then, the weirdest animal to exist? There's plenty out there, but is like an animal for you that you look at and go, I don't like it?
I mean, I think a lot of it is, like, the smaller creatures, right? I think, like, there's so many insects out there that are like, no, I don't like this thing. It's like
those Japanese centipedes with the super long legs that go really fast. Fuck those things.
Like, even things that are a bit more basic, like fig wasps and stuff like that, and, like, parasitical creatures where they're just like, oh yeah, this thing's just gonna like inject itself into you and like eat you from the inside out, and
bot flies and stuff like that.
Yeah, just a lot of weird, like even I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head for some reason now, but like the mushrooms that like go into the cordyceps that are obviously the basis for like the Last of Us 2 monsters, right? Just the idea that that thing's like not even a sentient creature. It's just this thing that's formed over time of like this life form that can force itself into your brain to control you to make itself like advantageously spread its spores further.
Yeah, it's I forget the name of it now, but it's referenced both in The Last of Us and in Resident Evil 4. You know, the last Plagas being like, you know, a super parasite. There's a real world example of this parasite that jumps inside snails, and it makes the snails crawl to the top of like tall leaves of grass and stuff like that. And it has a thing that pops out of its head that attracts birds, because its end goal is to get into the digestive system.
So then the bird will poop out them and spread the further, right?
And it's kind of fucked up to think that it has the ability to control a snail. And the snail doesn't know why it does it. Obviously, I don't know how much a snail is aware of its surroundings, but I imagine more so than a parasite.
Yeah, and it's strange, as I say, like, they, you know, the cordyceps, they're not sentient, but somehow that non-sentient thing is able to, like, take control of these ants and make them, like, live out zombie-like lives. And it's terrifying.
I wasn't expecting you to go, like, straight up body horror. I was thinking you were going to say something like a duck-billed platypus.
Well, there's things like a narwhal, right? Like,
narwhals are
the things that I'm like, that, again, like a unicorn, like, that thing's meant to be in a book. Like, that giant horn is not meant to be real. But, yeah, no, I took it down, like, oh no, I can't believe these things exist, of, like, just, pure...
existential horror. Yeah, because I was thinking, like, the duck-billed platypus, because in the Museum of Natural History in London, if you go look at their like duck-billed platypus model, like that, the stuffed one they got from like I believe they're endemic to Australia. It's gonna be Australia because that's full of all the weird stuff, right? And
yeah, I mean,
if you look at it, it's got like scissor marks on the beak. Because apparently, like when someone found one, caught it and stuffed it and sent it back to the museum for study, they thought it was a piss take.
Oh.
So they tried to cut the beak off with scissors until they realised it's real. And yeah, duck-billed platypuses feel like, I think the joke is that, oh, it's the leftover stuff they had behind. It's like a mammal that lays eggs, that is poisonous, and has a bill.
Yeah. And
it's like,
they are apparently...
It lays eggs, but it suckles its young.
They are... semi-aquatic egg-laying mammals endemic to eastern Australia, including Tasmania. So yeah, that's the thing, right? It like whenever you want to know what weird things exist, it's like it's a good bet that they're out in Australia.
It's either Australia or Madagascar, because Madagascar's like one of those places where like it's completely isolated, so almost all the stuff that lives there is completely unique to
itself.
New Zealand. To Madagascar, sorry.
I like that. They're completely unique to New Zealand. Just like, yeah, sure. But, I mean, like, even things like kangaroos and stuff, right?
I feel like we give kangaroos too much credit. Like, they're so normalised when they really shouldn't be, because they are weird.
They are weird as hell, right?
Like, I think in Australia, they're literally treated like pests. Of like, Australian people hit them with their cars and get pissed off. Oh, fuck's sake, another kangaroo. It's like, that's a kangaroo.
Mm-hmm.
So over here, like, occasionally you see wallabies, right? Like the little baby kangaroos. Like rich people years ago had them on their estates and they escaped into the wild. So very occasionally in the UK, you'll see like a little baby kangaroo hopping around. It's like, the fuck is that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love, like, you know, bringing it back to Pokemon when people look at like certain Pokemon and they're like, what is that thing? And you're like, it's probably just something we haven't discovered yet. Like, just, yeah. Why not? What is this blob known as Ditto, Karl? And Ditto, of course, the next fact that it has about it, Karl, is that it's well known for its unique ability to breed with any Pokemon other than the Pokemon in the No Eggs Discovered group and other Ditto. Yeah. Including some gender unknown Pokemon to produce eggs of the other species. And yeah, like, Ditto feels like it was invented in Gen 2 when they introduced breeding and eggs. Well, no, because it's just a Pokemon that can breed with anything.
Yeah, it's basically the only way you can realistically get new starter Pokemon.
Yeah. Realistically, I should say, because
without restarting the game and playing it again,
you'd have to like trade a male or female that you don't have of them, and realistically, like, what one of your friends is going to trade away their only starter. So, like, no, I promise I'll breed some and give you back. Yeah.
It's the most promiscuous Pokemon because I think there was that bug in one of the games where if you left a Ditto and a Rotom in like the daycare center, they were so, like, I think like the compatibility thing that in Pokemon when you're breeding, it's like how many steps you take, right, depending on how compatible they are, and it's gonna be like, you know, you take 100 steps, you'll get an egg. Something like it overclocked and went all the way over, so it wound back around. So it was like 3 steps. So there was once you put them in the daycare center, you could never get them back out because there's 3 steps it take to go
talk to the desk after you've taken the egg would be long enough that it's
to
like,
lay another egg.
Got another egg. Yeah.
So basically, you lose access to the daycare center because just the Rotom and the Ditto won't stop fucking.
Oh, like, that's one of the weird things, right? Is like there are so many Pokemon that can produce eggs, including things like Rotom, which is some like
a ghost.
Weird electrical
it's more like ghosts.
Ghosts, like
ghosts can like give birth, or Kangaskhan. You get a baby Kangaskhan that has a baby, and it's like, don't think about it.
Or the Cubone, right?
Cubone,
like the Cubone where is born with its mother's skull on its head already planted. It's like, don't worry about it. But the mother's still in the daycare, just banging its Ditto. It's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, like many things in the Pokemon universe. But yeah, like, what is your favourite kind of goober Pokemon, Karl?
As in, like, it looks stupid, or it has no real value beyond it's just fun?
So I was more thinking... I'll give us both answers, because I was more thinking the ones that look stupid and the ones that everyone dunks on online of like, well, new Pokemon is bad because here's the example, like, fucking, you know, one of my favourite ones that I think people need to leave alone is Klefki.
Oh yeah, just a set of car keys.
Like, people are just like, this Pokemon shouldn't exist, it's just keys. I'm like, I love my set of keys, I love little Klefki.
The thing is, like, when you know the design philosophy behind Pokemon, a lot of like the designs that are mocked make sense. Like Klefki, you say it's a set of keys, but it's a fairy Pokemon, and it's based on like the idea in folklore of fairies and imps and little mischievous creatures that like live in the woods would hide objects that belong to people like keys. It's based on that idea, or the idea of like muck and coughing and stuff being based on pollution. And well, you know the design philosophy behind all the ghost Pokemon being objects that are cursed, like Polteageist. It's a cursed teapot.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense when you know that, like, you know, Pokemon is designed by Japanese people predominantly, and it's like, yeah, a lot of these things are based on the idea of yokai, which are like supernatural entities and spirits in Japanese folklore, and yeah, they might not be specific to, like, there might not be a car key yokai that I'm aware of, but like just the general idea that items can be possessed and like be these supernatural
mischievous
like,
spirits might steal your car keys.
So that's something that like maybe doesn't translate as well, and that's why people are thrown off so much by ones that are like the food type Pokemon, like Vanillish and stuff.
Yeah. I think for me, one of my favourite Pokemon is just Seal. I think it's the quintessential lazy Gen 1 design, just Seal.
Yeah. Like
But then as well, I love Dugong, because I remember from like the cartoon, where you come like, Gong, Dugong.
Gong, Dugong.
Like, the voice actor for Dugong was like, yeah. They knew what they were doing, like, Gong, Dugong.
I still love the one where we recently had a couple of people point out last time we talked about Pokemon, like, oh, just, are you familiar with, I think it's Goldeen, and Seeking, like, the Goldeen in French?
No.
Where I think it's trying to say, like, because I think the French for fish is like poisson.
Okay.
But
so it's like pussy, pussy, pussy.
So it's like pussy, 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 pussy.
This was it. We joked before, like, in German. Like, we did the episode where we just went through all the German names. Jigglypuffs. Pummeluff.
Yeah.
Pummeluff.
And yeah, I want to have a broader discussion, Pokemon? As I say. My Goober one is Klefki. That's why.
There's got to be other Goobers though. Like, there's the classic. There's Wooper.
Oh, I love Wooper. Wooper's a little
great.
Goober in like parentheses positive way. Like, just Wooper's just a little idiot. Like Quagsire as well, right?
Quagsire is fucking fantastic. I love as well that it's actually got a niche in like higher level Pokemon with a really high power level, like legendaries and stuff. Its ability unaware means it ignores all stat boosts, so you can survive like attacks other Pokemon can't, simply because it just doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to one of my favorite things, which is Numel, which has the ability simple.
Little
Numel's just this
camel.
little like first form camel that's like got the ability simple, where it doubles all of its stat increases, and just you can just make this tanky little Numel just sitting there stat boosting like you're never gonna kill this camel.
It's like ridiculous. It can't die.
And obviously as well, Karl is very aware that I love the Pokemon Charger Bug.
Oh yeah, it's just Cube.
It's just this little bus.
This oblong overlord. Little Charger Bug.
Like, they have an episode where they like have like Charger Bug racing as well. It's great.
Is there like a better screenshot that you can like show from Pokemon out of context than the race episode with the guy who sat on the Voltorb or the Electrode and he just hangs on and rolls over? Right?
Yeah. But Karl, obviously I mentioned I want to talk about like some of our favourite like cozier games and stuff as well.
Yes.
So like obviously
the idea of the cozy game as well, just like, okay, I just want to sit down, just play a game. For me, cozy games are always handheld.
I really like playing Pokemon Pocopia on the TV, but for the most part, I've been like just have some like comfort show on in the background and play it on my Switch and just like sit there and chill out. Like I love playing Viva Pinata, but if I could have Viva Pinata like on my Switch too, that would be incredible.
Yeah. It's I've got friends who like play Stardew Valley, and it's like Stardew Valley is like their comfort game. They play it on their PC. It's like at a certain point, then sure, it's like looking at a spreadsheet,
right? And obviously, a lot of those games are really good to play on a PC, where you can quickly have like dual monitor setup, where one's the wiki page to tell you how to access any like item information and stuff the moment you need it. But I just can't imagine sitting there and sitting at a desk while I play Pocopia. It feels
too much like work. Like Stardew Valley already feels like work anyway. So I think
it literally is, right?
It was on like PlayStation Plus a couple of weeks ago, and I downloaded it, played like an hour, and I played it for an hour and went, I can see why people lose their entire life in this. I'm going to turn it off.
Yeah,
because I can feel that I'd be one of those people if I get too far in.
You can feel those hooks just like start to set in, right?
No, that's good. You know what? No, I've got other stuff to do this week.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Obviously, I joke that like, oh no, it's ruining my life. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I am still like, making sure to prioritize both of my jobs first. But like, every time I've got a free 20 minutes, I can just pick up that Switch and just like do one little task, right? And I think that's the beauty of the handheldness. Like, it feels like you've got to commit to a play session to sit down on your console and at your TV. Whereas when you can just, I've got like 10 minutes while my food's cooking or something, just pick up and make a new habitat and try and encourage a new Pokemon to come and like join our community.
Fair enough. Speaking of a new Pokemon, tell me more about Ditto. What like game information have we got? Because I always love reading back through the classic and older like Pokedex descriptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
so
where you
we'll
get
go
the
to
nonsense.
some of them. But it is the height of 1 foot tall / 0.3 meters and a weight of 8.8 pounds or 4 kilograms. And yeah, it can transform into any creature. So it can't breed with any creature just because they don't want you to be able to like take away the specialness of like legendary Pokemon and mythical Pokemon like Mew. Like if all of a sudden you just had a Mew and a Ditto and could make infinite Mews, kind of takes away some of the specialness of the Mew, right?
Yeah, but then like the Game Shark takes away the specialness of Ditto.
Mm-hmm. And I do like here just scrolling down as well, just some of the pictures of the Ditto and.
Oh, from the show where it transforms into other things. It always gives a Ditto face, right? That's how you tell.
That's so weird, right? Is that there is one episode of the anime where there's one Ditto that can't transform properly, so has a messed up face whenever it transforms into different Pokemon, and they're trying to teach it how to transform properly, quote unquote.
But that became shorthand for Ditto. Now all Dittos do that, except for in the games.
All Dittos apart from in the mainline Pokemon games. So in Pokopia and like in even in like the DLC where like the DLC for Scarlet and Violet in the Blueberry Academy, it shows a picture here of like the Ditto blocks, and it's like these purple little blocks that you need to find through the world, and it's got the dumb Ditto face on it. And like even in Detective Pikachu, when the human being is revealed to be a Ditto all along, it has the weird goofy Ditto eyes. And it's like, but that's not meant to be the power of Ditto. Ditto's meant to be able to transform into anything.
Like, yeah, it's supposed to be a near flawless replication.
Yeah. And it's fascinating that one episode of a Ditto that can't be Ditto properly is now
the default for the entire species.
For all Ditto, to the point where, the Ditto in Pokemon Pokopia, look at that stupid face that the main character's got. It's like, it's got the Ditto face.
It does make you wonder, though, whose face it's stolen. Right, because a Ditto can't transform unless it sees something, right? That's what they talk about. Unless it's got something it can transform into, it can't transform. Which means that Ditto stole someone's identity, and I've heard from the office that's not a joke. It's not a laughing matter.
No, it's not. And that does mean that the woman in Detective Pikachu does exist. Like Ditto is literally transforming into a person. So where's the woman, Karl? Presumably, like Mewtwo just killed her or something. But yeah, go into some of the Pokedex entries. It says in the English red and blue, capable of copying an enemy's genetic code to instantly transform itself into a duplicate of the enemy. I like the idea that specifically you've got to be enemies with this Ditto for it to be able to become you.
Yeah, that is I never picked up on that. It's like the enemy Pokemon. Maybe if you're friends with it, it won't transform.
Maybe, yeah.
The thing is, I've always wondered, what do you think Ditto feels like? Do you think it's slimy? Or do you think it's similar to like, do you know that stuff you use to clean your keyboard?
Yeah, I think it's more like that. I feel like
Play-Doh.
It's got like, kind of like more like a smooth feeling to it.
Yeah, like Play-Doh, maybe?
I guess Play-Doh would be a good description, right? Because you can
mold it into anything.
Play-Doh into anything, yeah. And it does say as well in Pokemon Gold, it can transform into anything. When it sleeps, it changes into a stone to avoid being attacked.
That's really clever.
Yeah, it's a really good like defense mechanism.
All I could picture though is that thing we all do when you're like running down the road and you see a stone, you get a little kick. Imagine if you did that and it just transformed into a fucking tiger. Right, it just got you. It just mauled your ass.
What do you do if you kick a rock and it turns into you?
And then steals your identity.
I
imagine though, if it stole your identity and started doing stuff better than you did. That's got to suck at it,
just
right?
Immediately started doing backflips. Like, god damn it.
It's all those stories you hear about when people get their identity stolen and their credit rating goes up because the identity thief like spends their money better than they do. It's come on.
I like this one though. In Pokemon Crystal, it says when it encounters another Ditto, it will move faster than normal to duplicate that opponent exactly. So if it sees another Ditto, it's like, I've got to be you. I've got to be that Ditto.
And I bet there are differences. Do you like when like Brock can tell the difference between all the Nurse Joys and Officer Jennies?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but they all look the same. It's like, no, there are distinct differences. I bet it's like the same with Ditto, where like a person who's familiar with them would be able to tell the difference. Like, do you have the same way, like if you see like someone who owns like 15 cats, they can always tell the difference between all the cats because their personality and idiosyncrasies.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, what is the difference between a Ditto and a Ditto? Like, it's literally described as a shapeless blob. How does one shapeless blob be different to a different shapeless blob?
To be fair, I've had plenty of like people who could tell the difference between me and the other shapeless blobs I've dated. So, speaking of which, like something that came up like on the internet, I saw it. And was like, yeah, that did happen in one episode of Pokemon, right? Do you remember that episode of Pokemon where there's just a Magikarp that's like 100 foot tall? Not 100 foot tall. It's like a giant Magikarp, and then it turns out that it's like the childhood friend of the only like Nurse Joy with a tan, who's super buff and just like suplexes it into the ocean. I'll send you a picture.
Oh, okay.
Remember that? Where it was just like this giant Magikarp and there's like a buff tanned Nurse Joy turns up and just fucking suplexes it.
Oh my god. He's just launching this like 20-foot Magikarp back into the water.
Yeah.
When did Professor Joy, Nurse Joy, just get a super buff? Obviously, she looks the same. She's animated the same, but like that thing must weigh a ton.
Yeah, but it's they say that's like a island Joy,
right?
Where she lives on an island, so she got a tan.
Of course, yeah. I do find it fascinating as well. Have you ever seen the like videos of people at the gym trying to casually do what Ash can do?
Oh, like lifting a Beldum and stuff.
Like things like carrying a Beldum or just casually walking around with like a Larvitar in its hands. That thing's like 50 kilos or something.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like holding it like it's nothing, just running around with it.
There is that moment from the Pokemon movie everyone singles out where Ash tries to punch Mewtwo and Mewtwo puts a psychic shield up and it's like, Mewtwo knew that Ash was about to fucking just end it.
Yeah, does that technically mean that Mewtwo thought that punch was a threat?
It's like when people try to power scale Yamcha to Lord Beerus, where during like the party, Yamcha slaps Lord Beerus on the back and Lord Beerus moves. It's like, so we try to power scale Yamcha from that one slap. Well, how strong does that mean Yamcha is if he can slap Lord Beerus and he moves?
He's just holding back. And I do like this Pokedex entry as well. It says its transformation ability is perfect. However, if Ditto is made to laugh, it can't maintain its disguise. Like, Ditto's just not got a poker face at all.
How can it laugh? Like, does that mean Ditto has a human sense of humour? We've had this discussion before of, there are some Pokemon that are just uncomfortable to think of as pets because they look too much like people. Like the idea of, there was that short that came out about like the guy who owns a Gardevoir, right? And it's cute. It's a cute story about a guy who owns a Gardevoir, and it like mega evolves to save him. But then it shows it when it's in his house and it lives on his floor, and it eats off the floor. So I don't like the idea that this thing lives in his house and eats off the floor like a fucking dog. So like, I don't like the idea that Ditto laughs. It's like, what do you mean it laughs? That means it understands humour and jokes. That's too smart to trap in a ball and make fights.
It's similar to Mr. Mime, right? Of like, Mr. Mime is literally essentially a partner to Ash's mum and like lives around the house and does chores with her and stuff.
But
and,
eats off the floor.
Goes on like shopping trips and stuff, and then she gets the food out, pours some kibble in a bowl, and it's like eat off the floor. Mate.
To be fair, I bet there are plenty of guys out there who would get down on their hands and knees and eat off the floor if Ash's mum told them to. So maybe that's just what he's into.
Maybe. We don't know their dynamic, Karl. We don't
know the dynamic. Dub and Som. Or Dom and Sub.
Dom and Sub, yeah.
You can tell I'm like deep into the kink world. I don't even know the fucking words for it.
Karl's like, pretty sure it's called like Dick and Dom or something like that.
Yeah, Dick and Dom. Oh man, who's the Dom and who's the sub in Dick and Dom?
Dom's got to be the sub, right? That's how you'd write it.
Oh
God.
Does it depend on who gets up that day? Like who's got like?
You know what, Karl? This is not a question we need to delve into.
This is a question that needs to be answered when we cover the show on a video, so we can show how much cocaine they must have done.
Oh God! Like
when they're like screaming at children to tell us about this wonky donkey.
I still that clip that went viral not long ago of like I think it was like Americans realizing how brutal like British
TV yeah
is to kids, of like that bit where they like get this person and they're like, oh, so it's like a little girl, right?
Yeah. We've got to clarify as well. It's like an adorable little guy, apple cheeks. She's got the pigtails and stuff. She's like proper, really nervous. She's on TV and she's meeting celebrities.
Yeah, and she's really nervous and quiet. And like, so like, you know, Anna, whatever her name is. Like, if you could have anything, what would you like? And she's like, a pony. It's like, right, okay. And like, maybe you should like close your eyes and wish real hard for a pony then. And then they get someone to like bring out a pony.
They bring a pony in.
And they're like, and what would you name a pony if you were given a pony? And she comes up with a name, I don't know, like Shadowfax. And they're like, right, okay, so you'd have a pony and it'd be called Shadowfax, Anna, is that right? She's like, yeah. Like, okay, open your eyes. And there's like a pony right there.
And she loses her shit. Like, she does that thing. Do you know when kids can't control their emotion? They don't know what they do, like what to do because they're so excited. They just shake and jump up and down. Like, she's and it's not genuinely. Genuinely, this little girl thinks this pony's hers.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is that your pony now? Shadowfax, is that yours? No, it's not yours. And just start pointing and laughing in her face. And like, no, that's that lady's pony. That's not your pony. What are you on about? I just laugh at her directly.
It's not as harsh. Obviously, it's done to an adult. And it's way harsher. They did it to a kid. They ruinously traumatized a child for their own entertainment.
You see her like life shatter before her eyes.
Have you seen like the Graham Norton bit where Emma Stone is talking about how much she loves Spice Girls?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
So on the Graham Norton show, which is a chat show in the UK, it's Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield there to promote Spider-Man. They were dating at the time. And Graham Norton's like, well, Emma Stone, you're from America. This might surprise people as an American. You like the Spice Girls. And Emma Stone talks about how much she loves the Spice Girls. And say, oh, you were really excited to stand where they stood, right? Like doing a radio interview. It's like, yeah. Have you ever met a Spice Girl? It's like, what are you doing? It's like, no, go on, just who's your favourite Spice Girl? And she says, like, who her favourite. It's like, now who's your second favourite? He goes, as you know, it's very rare to meet a Spice Girl. And you see her going, no. And Andrew Garfield is like on the sofa losing his shit. He goes, it's even rarer for two Spice Girls to be in the same room. And like they play, like the lights come down, they do the drum roll. And you see her going, no. And he goes, and that's why none of them are here. And just Andrew Garfield completely fucking falls on his ass laughing and shakes Graham Norton's hand. He's like, that is going to get me through like the next like 3 weeks of promotion for this movie.
And that's the moment that Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield broke up.
I just didn't give a fuck.
No. I love that, right? Just like, you got to subvert those expectations sometimes, because like, there's always those things of like, when they surprise like kids with like their favourite celebrity and things like that. And I just
do like those ones like, though, of the celebrity looking really disappointed. It's like, oh, Iron Man's coming in to meet you, and it's like Robert Downey Jr., but he's not wearing the Iron Man outfit, so the kid just doesn't want to meet him.
God, yeah, there must be a lot of those. Like, how many kids do you think?
If you're gonna do it, wear the costume. Like,
yeah,
Johnny Depp has had his issues, but to his credit, when he goes to meet kids as Captain Jack Sparrow, he doesn't go in as Johnny Depp and says, "Hi, I play." He goes in the full fucking costume because that's what the kid expects.
How many kids are disappointed, Karl, when John Cena goes to visit them and he's visible? Just goddamn. Did you reckon that like anyone's ever done that to their kid? I'm like, yeah, John Cena's right there.
I think the funny thing about John Cena is obviously he's just so physically large. It always looks terrifying when he's like posing with children. He looks like an ogre who could eat them.
God,
he wouldn't obviously because he's too nice, but
yeah. If people aren't aware, I'm pretty sure John Cena's got like the record for the most amount of
most Make-A-Wishes done. Yeah,
Make-A-Wishes ever done. Yeah,
and I think on principle he wanted to do it because the previous record holder was Hulk Hogan. Known racist Hulk Hogan.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Probably a better person to have that record is a person who's generally regarded as just a really nice guy. I've heard nothing bad about
as far
John
as
Cena.
all things that I'm aware of. It's always bad when, like, I know
It's sad that we have to clarify because
but a lot of the time we'll say something like that about a person, and then in the comments there's like 20 different people go, "Oh, you didn't hear about this thing that this celebrity did," and I'm like, "Oh God, like another one."
what happened, like, where we mentioned like Chuck Norris in like the Discord or something, like, oh, Chuck Norris passed away, and someone's like, oh yeah, he was like a virulent racist who campaigned for Trump, and it's like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. Never meet your heroes, kids. Never do it.
Including us.
But,
just because we're boring. We're more boring in real life.
That's the thing, right? Is that I feel really bad because when people like bump into us and just like say hello, it's like I haven't got much to say. Like, I'm not all that interesting. I'm just like, hi, like, thanks for being a fan. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know whether people expect more than that out of me, but that's like all I've got. Karl and I are both very awkward when like randomly met with strangers. Like, I appreciate really people being fans and saying hi and stuff. I'll never like turn someone away, but yeah, I'm always just like, hi. I'm slightly socially awkward. Hello.
Joe's not like Ditto. Apparently, Ditto understands like the complexities of human emotion and humor. It's like you got to make Ditto laugh.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really like about Pocopia is just like how much it's weird to say that like Pocopia's got weirdly good writing.
Yeah, I've heard that like it's charming in the same way Animal Crossing has very charming writing.
Mm-hmm. It really is, and each Pokemon has like their little bits of personality as well, and just I like one of the early requests that I got. I was like, you're just building your little town and stuff, and I'm like doing mainly the main quest so that like I'll unlock a lot of the kind of like new abilities that Ditto can have. Like Ditto will like, for example, grow like little vine arms to copy Bulbasaur's vines.
Yes,
they'll partially transform, get those vines, and that's your way to plant new like grass into the fields,
which is
right?
terrifying lore as being established, right? You always assume Ditto has to transform into the creature completely. Mm-hmm. To learn that it could just transform halfway.
Yeah, to learn that Ditto's arms can just become Scyther's blades at any point to cut things down.
Like, it could become some like horrible Chimera-esque amalgamation. It could theoretically be the perfect Pokemon because it could adopt the characteristics of the strongest Pokemon and use them simultaneously.
And I also love the fact that, not only can like it transform, this Ditto specifically, seemingly like for the sake of charm of the game, right, is that it can't always transform into what it wants to. Of like, there's a point where you copy Lapras, and you turn into Lapras, but you turn into like this weird Ditto chibified version, and Lapras is like, "Oh, you look great," and Ditto just replies like, "Yeah, but I'm not an exact copy of you." And Lapras is like, "Yeah, but you look cute in your own way. You look like alright, Ditto."
Like Ditto, just the identity theft Pokemon.
Well, it literally does steal your identity. The reason that you play as like a human-looking Ditto in the game is because it is a Ditto trying to remember what its previous trainer looked like and become them. And that's kind of terrifying that a Ditto's just like, yeah, I'm just going to become a human.
It's its best approximation of what a human would be.
Yeah, and I love the fact that, just it's got that loop of like similar to Viva Pinata. The reason I think that that's the most apt comparison is because the way that you like get Pokemon in the game is that it'll tell you like, oh hey, you've got a habitat. You need to like make up a habitat that is specific to what this Pokemon enjoys. So like, say for example, like a Squirtle. Squirtle really likes some grass by the water. So pull up a few pieces of grass all like connected together adjacent to water tiles, and that's going to mean that a Squirtle's likely to turn up. And then you get a Squirtle to turn up, and then they'll like teach you a new technique to be able to like squirt water onto the ground, to hydrate things, to grow trees. So then you can like, because you've got a Squirtle, you then got the ability to then get a different Pokemon into your town.
Yeah.
And it's similar to Viva Pinata,
That was the Viva
right?
Pinata loot, wasn't it? Where like you'd start, I think it was worms, right? Instead of use one of the little worms. So once you got like 4 or 5 worms,
a sparrowman will turn up.
A bird will turn. And I like that as well, the idea that having certain pinatas would attract other pinatas. But conversely, sometimes pinatas didn't like each other. Or like predator pinatas would scare away prey pinatas.
But then you could have them in the same farm, but you could do things where you then build out little sections of your like field to, you know, have a gated area where the worms will be safe from the sparrows.
Yeah. Was there anything though, when playing Viva Pinata, more frustrating than when you were trying to attract like a... Lucas is just coughing for the audio listeners. For the video watchers, you can see him absolutely just hacking up along. Like when you were playing like Viva Pinata and you made the perfect habitat for a specific kind of pinata, and it would walk just on the edge of the property and wouldn't step in. I remember like the swan one. I fucking hated that pinata because one, it made the noise that just said "I'm better than you." Like no, like fuck you, swan. But I remember once I built the perfect like habitat for it, because I think you could only check what it wanted if it stepped foot on your property. So it stepped 1 foot on, then like leave.
So
I built exactly what it wanted.
Like you'd get a hint at how you can make it appear,
and then
if you make it appear, there's a chance that it'll like get enamored with your little farm. And
you'll have a sniff. It might step in temporarily, and during that time, you can click on it and see what it needs specifically. And I remember once like, I built everything it needed, and it walked onto the property, and I thought, well, it's going to walk straight over and live here, right? Walked straight fucking past it and out the other end, and never came back. And I demolished all the shit I'd built for it. It's like, fuck you, swan, you're not coming back in.
That's why I love Viva Pinata, because
Viva Pinata's the best.
They will literally come to the edge of your garden and be like,
and go,
no, and just walk away. Don't like it. You're like, oh no, you were right there. Come in. And just sometimes we'll be like, nah, mate, you ain't good enough for me yet. You ain't earned it.
Did you get that in Pocopia then? Did you ever get like a Pokemon that'll just like sniff around, come around for a look, and then just not come in?
Not really. It's not quite as brutal as that. You kind of... It's a shame. When you build a habitat, they might just have a chance of like spawning into that habitat, but
you don't get the odds like you did in Viva Pinata that the thing you're trying to attract might turn up, but then not come in.
Which is what I love about Viva Pinata. It's just like that little added bit of personality to each animal of like, just some of them will be snooty little assholes and not think you're good enough.
I think everyone who played the game and took it seriously had the frustration of trying to attract like the deer. I think it's the donut. I also love that we need to cover Viva Pinata to talk about all the pun names they had.
The pun names, yeah.
Of like trying to get the donut, which is the thing on the box, to come into their farm.
Well, no, I don't think the donut is. The Horstachio is, right?
That was it, the Horstachio and the Pizzly Bear. The Fizzly Bear, sorry. Which is like the bear. What was your favourite Viva Pinata?
Ooh. I do like the squazzles.
Which one were they?
The squirrels. I really like squirrels, so just like they were super cute and charming.
I like the frog. I don't know what it was called, but I liked how like fucking squat it was. Like, doof, doof. The super squat frog.
I'll double check the frog name now.
Do you know what? I'll look up a list of Viva Pinata pinatas and you can
do it.
Continue on with the Ditto entry.
Well, I was going to say like the thing that I like about Pocopia is instead of like, you know, not wanting to live, like you not want to join your community, what'll happen is that Pokemon will want better habitats than they already have. So you'll go up to them and be like, how's your comfort level doing? Like, well, it's all right here, but like I'd much rather live in this location, or I'd much rather have a bed.
Yeah.
Can you get me a bed, please? Or like, can you build me a house? Because you've just got me sitting in like a little bunch of leaves right now. Like this is like,
no, fuck you. Once you're here, you're not leaving. Oh, Lucas. So I found a couple. I've just sent you a picture of the Badgesicle. The Badger one. Look how good the Badger one looks.
Because isn't
that an incredible? Like, that is the most incredible character design I have ever seen.
It's so good,
Lucas. And, the hippopotamus is called the Chippopotamus.
The Chippopotamus, because like, they're obviously all, like, they're pinatas, they're sweet-based puns.
Yeah, so candy for Americans, Cinnamonkey, the Crocodile. The cocoa dye. I remember trying, like, so difficult to get one of them onto your property because they need so much water.
Did you ever get to the point where you were like the high tier gardens where you're getting like Chocolocadus and things like that?
Well, I never got a legendary because I know there's like they started getting like mythical creatures in the second one, like a unicorn.
Yeah,
one
so
or
I
something,
think that's
right?
where all like the dinosaurs show up and things like that. And, like,
It's a
they're
series that
insane.
had so much potential for just innovation, and I've always wondered why. And I've opined out loud before of I don't get why whenever they release like a new Xbox. It was an Xbox game, right? It was Rare, did it?
Yeah, Rare developed and published by Xbox and like exclusive to Xbox stuff. Apart from like the weird DS party game one, which okay,
and
sure.
They had a TV show as well, so it did have a moment, but they
I think
always like really.
It'll be interesting to cover because I think the TV show actually launched at the same time. I think it was like that multimedia push.
So yeah, and what they whenever they release like a new console, the way they sell it on, and it's like the improved graphics. They release like a shooting game, or usually it's Forza. Actually, it's a car
lot of the
game.
time it's Forza. Yeah.
Look how shiny this car is. Why are they not? Okay, here's Viva Pinata in 8K. Give me that 8K.
Here is the most crisp pinata you've ever seen in your life.
It's the Lickertoad.
Lickertoad.
But then there's another one called a Lackertoad. That's the poison dart variation.
The poison ones, because there's like the evil variations of some of them, right?
Yeah, like you have the sour ones and the evil ones.
Yeah. God, I can't remember
Lucas,
his name.
the Syrupant.
The
Not the serpent, the Syrupant.
I can't remember the name of the evil
it's
guy.
a little bat.
The Sherbat, yeah.
Sherbat, the Ray's ants.
Like that's the thing. This is top tier pun work. Like such a British sense of humor, right?
Yeah. Oh, the Fizzly Bear, the Flutterscotch, the Fudge Hog. I think Fudge Hog was one of the other box pinatas.
It was one of the box ones. Yeah. I really like the pen gums as well.
Jameleon. Or the Jameleon. It's like a jam chameleon.
Jamelia? What?
Yeah. So that's like chameleon, so it'd be Jameleon.
Jameleon.
Jam.
Yeah.
The Maca Raccoon. The Raccoon Mac. Oh, so good! Bring it back! As well, every single one has like a 10 on 10 money. Why are there not plushes of all of these?
They probably were at the time, right? And
they probably were. Where is?
It was really quite popular with kids as well because of the TV show. And like, it baffles me that they haven't had another attempt at this because like games like Animal Crossing and Pocopia and Stardew Valley are so popular. Like, it fit in.
Lucas, like, one, look at how adorable this creature is.
Oh, okay.
Lucas, the Profitamon.
The Profitamon!
The Profitamon! That is so good! How was there not like a Build-A-Bear collaboration with Viva Pinata?
It reminds me of obviously they do have Pokemon Build-A-Bears, but you remind me of like, have you seen any of those new Pokemon Legos?
Oh, they're horrendous, right?
They look horrible.
I think the weirdest part is that some of the Pokemon Legos have like a little Lego butthole on them. I don't like the lore that's establishing.
I don't want to know whether Venusaur's got a bottle or not.
I do
be
like
right out there. I need to smell.
You can give like your Pikachu like gender affirming surgery and swap its tail around.
I never thought about that. Yeah. God, that still reminds me of that Miss Windy Chew and Mr. Wavy Chew or whatever.
Oh, they're doing it. We saw you from across.
We needed to put blush, lipstick, and eyeliner on this female Pikachu. It's like, it's got a heart-shaped tail already. We know.
Oh, I can't get over how good all these designs are. The Maca Raccoon is fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and we need to, as you say, do a proper video on Viva Pinata at some point because the video clips would be fantastic.
I just want to see it in like the absolute highest quality possible.
The fact that, we've not even got like a proper remaster of it or anything. Like
imagine like a 4K remaster of Viva Pinata.
We got like the ports in Rare Replay, but they were just the 360 versions running on a newer Xbox. They weren't like proper remasters or anything.
Like the Quackberry, little quack. The buzzard, the buzzenge. The bunny comb. That was another classic one, right? Everyone liked the bunny comb.
Mm-hmm. The bunny comb. They're so cute, and then you could get all like the variations of them, right? So you could get different colours.
They not only had the you could get a regular bunny comb, but then there's rare variants and different colorations of the bunny combs if you get an especially good garden.
Or if you like follow specific, there were like secret things to figure out within like the breeding mini games and things like this, where like if you did it in a specific time, then you had a better chance of like getting twins and things like this as well, right? And like, man, the actual level of depth in Viva Pinata was insane because
like building like a farm. Because I know there were people who like they min-maxed it and like I want to build like if this is the perfect farm. It's like everything is laid out in grids, and I hate when there's like building games people build stuff in grids. It has no soul. I understand people do efficiency, but it's like I was looking at my friends like what's it now? What that game I mentioned? Stardew Valley. Like their Stardew Valley garden. It's like okay, so I've laid it out in this is the most efficient way it can be laid out. Of each morning I wake up and I can go to each individual thing and I drop them in these boxes at places. Like surely. It's like the first hour of the game is
you've just mathematically solved the fun out of the game.
You've also as well replaced the start of the game is you're working like Amazon essentially, like you work for this shit ass company that's like killing your soul because it's just the same mundanity day in day out. It's like you've just swapped that for the same thing, but
but outside,
but with parsnips.
Yeah, and there is a satisfaction in min-maxing these type of games,
figuring
as well,
it out,
right?
yeah. But I always just enjoy just building a wild farm, letting shit run wild.
Yeah, and like that's the current thing that I'm going through with Pocopia. Of like, as I say, I'm mainly sticking to the main quest so that I can, because I know that the way the game's going to work is if I spend 100 hours in that first location, grafting away, doing things the hard way, building up that perfect town, and then go to like the next couple of locations. I'm just going to unlock a bunch of abilities that make doing that a way quicker process.
Yeah. And just to clarify for anyone out there who's thinking like, wait, Karl, you're not, are you? Yes, I am. I'm the person in Minecraft who just punches a hole in the ground and sleeps there. I don't build any sort of lasting shelter or anything like that. I build like the fucking square that with a bed in it and I live in it and then just let shit grow where it goes.
I'm currently in the phase of letting things kind of go as they are, where, shit stays where it lies, but just apart from, say, for example, I had Charmander come over to me and was like,
okay,
hey, is there any chance that now that you've made it rain, I could live somewhere a bit drier? So I had to, like, go and build a little house I built a little cave out and built a little house inside the cave for Charmander. I was like, come on, mate, I'll put you by some torches. I'm gonna give you a little hut. You can stay nice and dry away from all these fucking squirtles everywhere.
Yeah, I like that. But the way I've always approached like games like this is I like the idea of you build it and you build outwards. And then when you get to like, 10, 20, 30 hours in and you zoom out, you can see how it spreads out. Like something like, I don't know, the building game, Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah.
Like whenever I play a game like that, I never delete or destroy or replace the stuff I started with, the better stuff. I like to keep it there and just keep building upon it, because then you get like an overview of your entire playthrough, essentially.
Right.
And you get to see it build, and you get to see all the decisions you made, and especially when you get to the end when you run out of space, and you start to see you get more and more efficient with the space.
Yeah, fair. I'm very much the opposite. I get to get to a certain point where I know that I can do a bunch of the more difficult stuff a bit easier, and like I've got a ton of resources saved up and stuff, so I know that I'm in a position where now I can do town version 2.0. I'll just raise everything to the ground.
I've seen those the people who play like a Roller Coaster Tycoon or a Zoo Tycoon, and the first thing they do is select level out all the ground and create a perfectly flat environment. It's like, no, come on. Half the fun for me at least is, okay, what biome have I got? Okay, there's a huge fucking mountain right there. What am I going to do with that? I guess I'll figure that out as time goes on.
Yeah, and the one thing about Pocopia where I do want to change a lot of things is because each area that you go into is like, hey, it's Kanto, but it's kind of destroyed. so it's always the same map. So I don't want to just rebuild what is kind of half still there as like a destroyed, Fuchsia City or whatever, and just rebuild Fuchsia City. Because then if I go and see a bunch of other people playing the same game, everyone's going to have done the same thing, right? So that's where I think it's a bit different. Whereas like a Minecraft, when you just dropped into a Minecraft world and there's like nothing to work with, I do kind of like embracing the area that I'm being given and not just flattening it all out and
so I will try and the area you've given me is I'm going to try and like adjust to this. That's half the fun for me.
Yeah, I'm going to try and adapt to this randomized world that is unique to my playthrough.
Similar
Whereas
to
when it's not
Worms.
unique to my playthrough, I don't just want to rebuild the things that were already half given to me.
Yeah, like Worms, right? Of half the fun of Worms is what bullshit level I'm going to have to beat now. And I know like there's people who play Worms and they'll go, okay, let's keep hitting random till we get one that's just an island in the middle of the stage. Like, no, hit randomize and just you play with what
I love doing one randomize and then just going with it.
All the people who like, have you ever played someone who plays Worms? And it's like, oh, you get to choose where to place your worms. Like, fuck off. Let the game decide where the worms go.
You start and go, oh, 3 of my 4 worms are clustered together in one part of the map. I'm going to get so airstriked immediately.
Yeah, and that's like, you play the ball where it lies.
Yeah.
But I've met the people who are like, no, place your worms. It's like, no, fuck off. Half the fun is responding to the randomness.
And I don't mind, for example, if you're playing like the fort mode, going with like, okay, so clearly, that's meant to be you've got one fort on one side, I've got the other fort on the other side. That
is funny
fun.
When sometimes one of your worms is randomly placed right at the very bottom of
their
island.
Right near the middle. Yeah. And it's like, oh, God.
The only worm rule I'll agree to is no airstrikes. So I think airstrikes cheapen worms in the sense they're too easy.
So I like doing the classic thing of putting things like airstrikes and stuff on the turn timers.
Like you get one.
You get one, but you get one unlocked in round 7.
So you can't like start the game just airstrike someone who's like stood on the edge of a thing. So that's my purest thing. I also like the ninja rope. If you only get one ninja rope per turn, because if you've got infinite ninja rope, you can go anywhere on the map and it's not fun.
I like doing it like the classic opposite as well, though, of like cave map, infinite ninja ropes, and just a baseball bat. And you gotta just fly around everywhere.
Yeah, I'm a worms purist in that sense. So like,
yeah, I think you've got to have absolute restrictions on a certain playstyle, because if it is just every single game is going to be I concrete donkey turn 1, that's no fun.
Have you seen as well, like in the like canon of Worms, they've canonized like bullshit coward tactics?
What do you mean?
So do you like? Everyone knows in Worms, the bullshit coward tactic is to like pneumatic drill underground and hide.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's like Dark Side Worms, and they call it Dark Side Worms. And there is a team in one of the early games called Dark Side, and all they will do is hide underground and call airstrikes in. And it's like, it is canon to Worms that is the coward's way to play. And
just
those
drill
kind of
down,
worms,
place a girder above, and yeah.
And like the brief snippets of story you get in like the guidebooks and stuff is like, worms who adhere to this tactic never last long. Because they're always singled out. And I think they encourage you in the guidebook of when you play like 4-player, if anyone employs dark side tactics, all of the players should team up on them.
Right, yeah. Or there's the one where it's like, put a girder right in the corner of a cave map and then just jet back up to there and hide in this like little girder box in the corner. And it's like, you've all got to agree immediately to just bazooka that corner of the map and annihilate them.
So I forget which game it was now, but there's like one of the shooter games where if someone stands still for more than 10 seconds and camps, they automatically get a thing that goes above their head and it's like, oh, you get double points for killing this player.
I like that. It's a good way to get around it, but yeah, I know we should probably like end it there and go to housekeeping, because I'm sorry, I wanted to keep it like a bit more of a broad discussion, because I know I keep talking about Pokemon, but I know it's taken over, and I'm sorry. True. So I'm going to endeavour to not talk about Pokemon for a while after this. Just, I needed to get some of that out my veins, you know what I mean?
You need to discuss it in some way, yes, no problem. So yeah, we're moving straight on to housekeeping, or would you like to take a break?
I'll just run the toilet, so it'll just be a few minutes.
Problem.
So, Karl, is there any housekeeping that we need to discuss before we move on to your wiki?
Besides, it's reminding people that the upcoming videos this weekend are decided on by you, our audience at home. So they're the Patreon votes we do each and every month. So if you want to influence next month's content, you can sign up on a Patreon at any tier. You'll also gain access to some unique and new fresh content we're trialing, including Swap 5s, which is my take on the top 5 ranking video format that's ever popular on YouTube. And the gimmick, the twist, if you will, that I've decided upon is rather than having myself and you just rank something 1 to 5, it's we both agree on the top spot, but we swap in the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, and the number 5 spot based on our own arguments. So we both go out and seek number 2 and 3 and have to argue for those spots. Swap 5.
We've got to fight for our right to have our moments become second and third, right?
Yes, we both agree on the number 1 spot, but we have to argue over what goes in. What should be swapped into, I should say, the second and third spots.
So what Swap 5 was like the first topic that we covered?
It was the top 5 most important MCU moments, and you can find the first episode of that pilot, or the pilot and first episode of that series over on our Patreon. And next month, you'll also find something else. It's not an idea we've come up with. I feel like I'm pretty sure it's already existed. Oh, he's doing it. He's coughing.
Yeah, apparently, I've just been talking a lot today, so I'm just not been hydrating well enough. Apparently, I've just got a bit of a dry throat, but. Yeah, we've definitely not come up with this idea, but we decided to do a movie commentary because we know that people are like, enjoy a good movie commentary and enjoy our takes on films and stuff. So what we're doing is we're putting out a movie commentary next month over on our Patreon, and then we're going to have a weekend video to discuss what we've already done a movie commentary on. So it's going to be on Hot Fuzz, and maybe just wait off until that movie commentary drops, and that's a good way to rewatch the film and enjoy it before hearing our thoughts on it.
Yeah, you can also just listen to it as a podcast, and I'll also be throwing together like a 10-minute supercut to advertise it as well. So that'll be replacing one of the Wiki Wikis for that month.
Yeah. So, if that sounds like something that you'd enjoy, then go and check out the Patreon. There'll be, at very least, one exclusive Patreon content, whether that be like a new video idea or movie commentary or something along those lines, as well as like audio versions of the podcast, and as we say, like audio versions of videos as well, and also just the chance to vote once a month on a topic that we are going to do. So do we want to tease the topics that were chosen for this month's vote as well?
I guess it's wait 4 days because I can't remember. We've been recording for like 5 hours so far.
Do you not want to? Because I remember what we talked about.
I remember mine was like a video game thing, but I don't remember the exact topic.
You genuinely don't?
No, my brain's a bit frazzled at the moment.
So you talked about a character that reminded you of me.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah.
So
the character that reminded me of Lucas. That was my topic. That was the one that won the vote anyway.
That was the one that won a vote, and my vote was to talk about a classic sci-fi movie that I'd never seen before. So yeah, we'll be talking about those over the weekend.
Keep an eye out for those this coming weekend. As mentioned, we'll let audio versions. That's something we're doing each and every month. So if you're on a Patreon, you can get the audio versions of every video and podcast you've listened to so far. So you can go back and listen to them again. Then you can just look at like static screenshots of myself and Lucas and just imagine that we're there.
But speaking of podcasts, Karl, we've got a whole other half of the podcast to do. So what wiki have you brought for us?
Well, I realised, speaking of like the Wiki Quickies, I did like the Wiki Quickie on Rick Rolls last week. Next Wednesday is April Fool's Day. And we've got no specific content recorded for April Fool's Day, but I realised not many outlets online really do April Fool's Day jokes anymore.
And I'm not going to lie, I think it's for good reason, because I hate it when I see an April Fool's Day of like, oh my god, like, Nintendo just announced a new F-Zero game, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Oh no, it's just April Fools.
Yeah. So I thought we could just cover, from Wikipedia, a list of April Fool's Days jokes. And I think we can just, give our thoughts on these various jokes and see if there are any, that we find particularly amusing. Because something I was noticing while scrolling through this list of jokes, that some of them are legitimately funny and required a not insignificant amount of effort to be expended, which I respect. Other ones are just stuff like someone going on the radio and going, this person died. April Fools!
Yeah, that's the stuff I hate, is when it's just a thing of a screenshot or something that someone's sloppily thrown together and gone here's an announcement of something and it's fake and that's the joke. It's great.
It's more so like the idea of a good April Fool's joke, or even a prank. So like, an April Fool's joke is just a prank, but there's a specific day where it's told. Like a prank should be harmless, and once the ruse is discovered, the person who is the prankee should also laugh along. I think to Jackass, where no matter how harsh the stuff in Jackass ever got, the person who is being pranked always laughs. Because they are in on the joke.
There's obviously, like, the couple that went a bit far. And,
A bit too far.
But
for the
the
most
whole
part,
point is that the entire cast all agreed that it's fair game. Anyone can be pranked anytime, and no one is above getting pranked.
And there is an understood like limit on what you are and are not allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with pranks, right? Of like, there's a difference between, say, jumping out and scaring someone, and like, oh, okay, you got me, and someone being a dickhead and doing that 50 times in a row.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the difference between, like, jumping out on your partner or a friend and going, blah, she were hiding in the cupboard, and those dickheads on YouTube who just do it to random members of the public who were carrying shopping.
Yeah, I think of those ones where it's like entire accounts dedicated to like jump scaring people. Like, how the fuck are you not just getting punched in the face every other day?
Would you remember the TikTok trend of, hey, here's a fun TikTok prank you can do, walk into someone's house and just not leave? Remember that one?
Yeah,
Remember
I do, yeah.
Because a guy got arrested for doing it, and and the guy who did it was genuinely confused why the person whose house he walked into called the police, because it was quote unquote a joke.
Yeah.
Or that guy who, like, his whole thing was like going into places he's not supposed to, and like, oh, one day he went into like a train and got into like the carriage,
driver's seat, right?
and didn't understand why they got arrested for doing so. It's like, because that is a potential act of terrorism in the making.
Like, literally,
you fucking
like, you
idiot.
could be, for all they're aware, it could be a joke, but it could be you're trying to legitimately hijack a train.
Or like the other ones of like, oh, gallon smashing, where it's like, oh, fun prank, go into a supermarket, get 2 giant jugs of milk and throw them as hard as you can on the floor and then walk out. What a prank!
Yeah.
So let's see if, like, you know, some of these are going to be, some of these examples of stuff like that just piss you off, like, why did you do this? Other ones are more harmless and in the spirit of a practical joke.
One that I did want to quickly mention as a good
Go for it.
way to do a joke where I'm like, you can do like an announcement joke where, for example, I can't remember the exact name of it, but the Sonic team on April Fool's one year
it's on the list, yeah.
The Sonic got killed murder mystery game.
Yeah, it's on this list, yeah.
But that ended
it was
up being
real.
real.
It was a joke, but it was a real thing they released. And, you know, we'll go through the list now. So, we start with television, Lucas, and this is perhaps one of the most famous pranks ever pulled, and one of my personal favourites. So, the spaghetti trees. And are you familiar with the spaghetti tree prank?
No, but is this a thing where, like, they convince people that spaghetti grows on trees?
Not just, like, you say they, Lucas. I think you mean the BBC.
Yeah, I thought it was something like the BBC, like a genuine big, like, television company, yeah.
Yes, so in 1957, the BBC aired a special episode of the show Panorama, widely regarded as one of, like, you know, it's one of the most well-respected, like, factual shows to exist on, like, you know, this very prim and proper television network that's, like, widely regarded around the world for its factual reporting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not its unbiased reporting sometimes, but it's factual reporting nonetheless. They claimed that the despised pest, the spaghetti weevil, had been eradicated. And as a result, that year's harvest of Swiss spaghetti was expected to be a bumper crop. And
not even Italian spaghetti, Swiss spaghetti.
Well, that's what they say. They say, well, Italian farmers think their spaghetti is best, so the Swiss farmers have figured out how to grow it better because they grow it more on straight lines. And it's to the point where, keep in mind 1957, they just like attach spaghetti to trees and film some lady dressed in like traditional stereotypically Swedish garb, or Swiss garb, I should say, just pulling spaghetti off of trees.
Like, they are the ones that are like, that's just a harmless, fun joke, but
it is.
The fact that it's like BBC using, as you say, their well-celebrated TV show Panorama that, like, genuinely was very respected at the time. It's like
they also as well got in
exist
Richard
this prank,
Dimbleby,
don't you?
like veteran, like programmer. I think he died recently, but he's been working since like the fucking 50s to lend an air of like authenticity to it. And my favourite thing is that a bunch of people called in asking the BBC, how do I grow my own spaghetti tree? And apparently some intern just like, you know what? I'm really going to mess with people. It's like you take a sprig of spaghetti, you put it in a tin of tomato juice, and then bury it in your back garden. And for anyone curious, like, well, how do people not know that spaghetti isn't a thing that grows on trees? Well, apparently, in the 50s, spaghetti was seen as exotic because it was really not common to see pasta in the UK. It only very recently arrived on British shores. Prior to that, we just ate fucking potatoes all the time.
So
people didn't know what spaghetti was.
It sounds stupid and ridiculous, but yeah, it was just not as easy to import things as it is today. Right?
Then again, as well, the BBC are reporting it. It's just like, why would the BBC lie to me?
Yeah, why would they lie to you specifically about spaghetti trees of all things?
Yeah, and we're going to continue in that trend now, Lucas. In 1962, the Swedish National Television broadcast, or the Swedish National Television Network, broadcast a 5-minute special on how to get colour TV by placing a nylon stocking over your television. And that's harmless, but an example of this that's not so harmless is when there was that 4chan prank of, hey, there's an update on iPhone where you can now charge your phone by putting it in the microwave. And you can see that's on paper, that's the same joke, but the end result is, like, for one of them, it's like, oh, you were fooled into putting a nylon stocking over your TV. The other one is, you ruined your £1,000 iPhone.
And you probably blew up your microwave with the process, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are genuinely putting people at risk of burning their houses down by telling them to microwave fucking batteries.
It's funny though, isn't it? I'm laughing. In 1965, the BBC purported to conduct a trial of a new technology allowing the transmission of odour over the airwaves to all viewers. Smell-o-vision.
Oh.
Many viewers reportedly contacted the BBC to report the trial's success.
I, for some reason, didn't clock in my head that you said the word odour. I thought you were saying, like, odour as in, like, ODA. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't... just smells.
Odour, smell-o-vision.
Yeah.
In 1969, the public broadcaster of the Netherlands, NTS, announced that inspectors with remote scanners would drive the streets to detect people who've not paid their radio or TV tax. The only way to prevent was to wrap your TV or radio in aluminum foil. The next day, all supermarkets were reportedly sold out of aluminum foil.
How many people don't pay the TV license, Karl?
Just go out risking. And then we have the Great Blue Hill eruption prank on April 1st, oddly enough, 1980. Boston television station WNAC-TV aired a fake news bulletin at the end of the 6 o'clock news that reported the Great Blue Hill in Milton, Massachusetts was erupting, causing some residents to flee their homes in panic. And here's the thing, that's not fucking funny.
No, that's not. Making people evacuate their houses is a bit far. Telling people that they can grow some spaghetti in the back garden.
Well, there is like a guy who did do this where there was like a dormant volcano near his house, and he drove to the top of it the night before like April Fool's and put a bunch of tires in there and lit him on fire. And the news reported that it was erupting. That's technically the same joke, but I think that is a prank because he fooled the news, not people.
But then if the news are then reporting on it, it's, yeah.
Obviously,
the news genuinely just thought that they had to report on something, right?
Yeah. In 1997, Wheel of Fortune host Pat Sajak and then Jeopardy host Alex Trebek switched places. Fun, simple. In 2008, the BBC reported on a newly discovered colony of flying penguins. An elaborate video segment was even produced featuring veteran broadcaster Terry Jones walking with penguins in Antarctica following their flight to the Amazon rainforest.
And that's the thing, if you actually manage to convince I was about to say David Attenborough to like produce a short.
It wasn't David Attenborough though. Well,
no, but
Terry
like
Jones.
I'd have to wonder if I saw something in a documentary.
If David Attenborough told me penguins fly, I believe him.
Like, yeah, if there was just flying penguins at the end of like Planet Earth season 1 or something, and I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, I believe that. I believe David Attenborough. Like, I'm surprised at some point that it hasn't turned out that one thing in one of his documentaries was a joke.
I know once they got criticised because the sound editors on Planet Earth were adding in sound effects
Yeah.
to make things more comedic and theatrical. And they got criticised for that, and it's like, fuck off, you've got no whimsy in your soul.
Yeah. And I get that
It's funny when the centipede runs and they play the xylophone noise. I want to laugh every time.
Yeah, I get that some people are boring and want to watch like just a straight up documentary.
Go outside.
But I don't mind the idea of just adding some, I should say, whimsy to a documentary that's still telling you all the facts. It's not lying to you about what these creatures are or do.
No. It's just like, presenting it in a more theatrical, interesting way. And we move on to radio now. In 1963, radio programme Desert Island Discs for the BBC featured a spoof theatrical manager. I guess you had to be there.
Yeah.
Ho, what a prank. The Jovian Plutonian Gravitational Effect. In 1976, British astronomer Sir Patrick Moore told listeners on BBC's Radio 2 that a unique alignment of two heavenly bodies result in an upward gravitational pull, temporarily making people lighter at precisely 9:47 a.m. that day. He invited his audience to jump in the air and experience, and I quote, a strange floating sensation. Dozens of listeners phoned in to say the experiment had worked. Among them, a woman who reported that her and 11 friends were wafted from their chairs and gently orbited around the room. See, I want to know what happened to that lady.
It does beg the question, right? Of like, I've always wanted to know if there's a scientific answer to the whole thing of if every single person on the planet jumped at once, what would happen?
I think XKCD Randall Munro, he answered that in one of his books, What If? And it's like nothing.
Yeah.
The weight of every human being on Earth is it's basically a rounding error to the weight of the Earth.
Yeah, that's what I figured would be the answer, is like, you actually think about it. Maybe if we could fill every inch of landmass on the planet with a person, like, trillions of people, not billions, maybe then it would do something, but...
Yeah. The Earth is very fucking big. In 1988, Capital Radio London gave all of their breakfast showtime check-ins 1 hour early. Panicking listeners who needed to get up. That's a bad one.
Because that means most of the country is in panic mode trying to get
most
to
of
work.
London.
Yeah.
That's a bad one because it's so small a thing, but that would ruin your day.
It would ruin, and that's it, it's ruining a lot of people's days simultaneously in the same area.
And as well, what's the joke?
Panicking.
Like, you're just inconveniencing people. It's not funny. Like, cause the idea behind a prank is that when the person reveals, like I said, when they realise it's a prank, they go, "Oh, you got me." No one's going to do that when they rush to work an hour early and got to sit around in their fucking office not doing anything.
And like,
knowing they could have been in bed for another hour. They're not going to be like, "Oh, you got me." Like, they'd be pissed off.
That
I'd be
probably
annoyed.
caused like car accidents simultaneously. Like, what? Thousands of people all panicking trying to get to work in a worried state at the same time.
Yeah. Like, for example, here, in 1992, 2 disc jockeys on a radio station in Norfolk, Virginia, in the US, falsely reported that there had been a leaking methane, causing a potential explosion hazard detected at a local park.
Right.
What a great joke. Hey, parents, that park your kids are in might fucking explode. What a great... Speaking of which, in 1998, local WAAF shock jocks Opie and Anthony were discussing April Fool's Day hoaxes and sardonically stated that Boston Mayor Thomas Menino had been killed in a car accident.
Like, what's the joke there?
The joke is that, lol, you thought that someone died. Haha, you have been trolled. Okay, so like I said, it's the same energy as like those people on TikTok, right? Like, I want to walk into a guy's house for a prank.
Mm-hmm. Like, bizarre.
Or like, what was like, okay, what's like the most annoying one of those you've seen, like that you'd hate to happen to you? Because like, there's some bad ones, obviously. There's like the, like I said, walking to people's houses prank. I think one that got me is, it's like, oh, hey, ladies watching, just turn off your boyfriend's PlayStation and see what his reaction is. And just seeing like people giggling at like just doing something that's like, what is the joke there besides you don't respect me?
Mm-hmm.
Or like, making other people laugh or giving like, you would inconvenience me, your partner, for the sake of getting likes on TikTok.
Yeah,
Great.
or the ones where it's like, give them like a empty PS5 box or something like that. And it's like, okay.
I think there's one that I saw, and it's like, oh, just see what your boyfriend or partner's reaction is by asking him for a divorce, or if you're going to break up, and then record your reaction, see how he reacts.
Yeah, I hate the ones where it's
What
like,
a
hey,
prank.
I'm going to be an asshole to my partner to just get a reaction out of them for social media.
It's the clicks, yeah. Like, they're the ones, like, they're ultimate, like, they're not harmless, but it's a victim, like, sample size of one, as opposed to, like, a group of people or a crowd. But it speaks to a person's character that they'd be willing to do that.
Similar to, like, the Jackass thing, I think the ones that I prefer are the ones where it's like, hey, here's like a couple who will prank each other on the reg of like, oh, we have a running gag of like at any point I might like throw a cream pie at you, and like not in a sexual way, of just like a whipped cream on a plate, just like, yeah, I'm just gonna like, we have a running joke that we're both gonna do it to each other at any random time.
And there's a mutual understanding that we're fair game at this point. I think too. Did you ever watch that like compilation of the guy who's like, okay, like I think every day for a year he threw an egg at either his partner or someone he knew. And by the end of the year, the person's like catching it like a fucking goalkeeper in the Olympics. Because it's just one straight year of every day. It's like, catch! And by the end of it, they're really, really good at catching the egg.
And like, that's the, if it's, again, a mutual understanding that like we've both agreed that at any point this can happen, that's fine, that's fun.
Yeah, but then I say, like, conversely, you get those ones like, ooh, TikTok challenge, just piss off your partner.
Yeah. And
I'm so glad I've never dated a girl who did that. I did date a girl who was obsessed with Snapchat, and I've told the story before of, like, where everything we did had to go on Snapchat, so, like, the 1,000 people she had us follow on there could see what we were doing. And the hardest I have laughed at another person is when, like, we went ice skating, and it's like all these signs like, do not get your phone out, do not get your phone out, do not take photos. You're going to take a photo, take it off to the side. Like, well, I'm not listening to that. Gets a phone out, posing in front of a camera. And I saw it, and I had like a good minute and a half that I could have warned her. And I just saw her very slowly going towards the wall.
Yeah.
And I just went, she was warned, she was told not to. I told her not to. I told her I'm not going to be near her when she's doing it, because I'm not going to be on camera with you, because we're not supposed to be doing this. I just saw her go into the wall in slow motion. And like, it was funny because she's holding a phone in front of her face. Hand hits the wall, drops the phone. Oh no. Collapsed and fell on the ground. I just laughed. I didn't help her up. I was like, you were told not to do it.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, right? Every time
people say that's harsh that he did that, it's like,
every time you see a sign of like, don't do this thing, the sign is there because someone else was an idiot and got hurt doing that thing.
Yeah. And I just saw it and saying, I'm not going to help you up, because you know what? You need to learn your lesson. Like, you weren't. This is why you're supposed to be paying attention.
Yeah, because like I recently, like last weekend, went on a stag do, right? As you're aware. And
yes.
One of the locations we went was a place where it's like, they've got the long tables, and it's encouraged that you get up on the benches and you like have a little dig on
like
the
a
benches.
beer Kellis type place, or
yeah,
Steinhaus.
Like, there's always the signs everywhere in the room like, do not dance on the tables,
because that's where the beer is.
Yeah,
they're wet.
Exactly, and you see like someone immediately try to get on the table and fall off, and it's like the security coming over. I'm like, yep, that's why the signs are there, mate. Like, don't do it.
Yeah,
just yeah. And that's the every time I have been to that place, the signs are around the room everywhere. The security will tell you immediately to get off the table, and every time without fail, I see someone fall off the table because they tried. Yeah,
it's like there's something to be said about just the level of just the complete lack of self-awareness some people show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the example I always use is airports. If you've ever been to an airport, like, you'll be stood there in the queue to, like, get your bags checked. Like, TSA for Americans, not like just over here. It's like, just go through security. And you'll be stood there and you'll be in the queue for like, sometimes an hour. And every single step of the way, there is a sign. Take shoes off, put your stuff in a clear plastic bag. Do not have this and this and this in your person. Have all this ready. and you'll have someone over, like, in multiple languages getting beamed directly from the speakers overhead.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see as you get closer to the security checkpoint, people pulling things out of their bags, being given the plastic bags. They even have people walk up and down, reminding you in person, checking, looking. Without fail, you'll see someone go up and say, can you take your loose change out your pocket? Oh, what do you mean? No one told me that. It's like, what the fuck do you mean no one told you that?
It's being screamed
every
at
time
you in every possible language, in every possible way, constantly, through like an hour-long queue, and they get to the front and go, what do you mean?
And they'll always say the same thing when you overhear it, like, nobody told me that. It's like, fucking everything told you that. It was being screamed at you in every conceivable way for an hour straight, and they just don't get it. And that's what I think, like, I said that ex of mine of, like, do not take your phone out, do not take your phone out. And especially as well, when the thing that got me is when we got onto the ice, took a phone out, someone was like, can you put your phone away, please? Pretend to put it away, guy turned around, pulled it straight back out. It's like, come on!
Oh,
gosh!
You bringing up airports and stuff, though, it reminds me one time of, I was a kid, bear in mind. I was
Kid, okay.
Maybe about, like, 10 or something, and Shrek had not long come out, or Shrek 2, I'm not sure.
Where's this going?
And the plane stopped, like, on the runway, and they, like, were like, oh, we're gonna have to delay, we're gonna do some checks. And then some, like, noises started happening, so presumably they were just, like, checking below on the, like, luggage or something, or doing more tests on the plane or whatever. And me, as the stupid idiot that I was, like, did a donkey impression and shouted, like, oh, we're all gonna die. And yeah, and the way that, like, immediately my mum, like, put my hood up to shove me down was, like, head in hands, like, oh, and of
I'll
course,
tell you what,
like, the flight
a rabbit hole
straight over.
Yeah, that reminds me of a rabbit hole I fell down. So in a fact theme video a while ago, we mentioned the trend of, like, Karens and male Karens, Darrens, I suppose, losing their shit in a McDonald's. And you think, and the joke we made is, they'll always say, oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And you think to yourself, maybe it is. Maybe that is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. While I was getting, like, footage of that for an example, I fell down a rabbit hole of videos of people having that reaction. The same reaction, like, oh, there's no pickles on my burger, and, like, throwing a shit fit in airports. And I can't think of a place on planet Earth I would be less inclined to have a tantrum than an airport, say for mid-air after going through an airport. And not only is there videos of this, there are so many videos, and it's all the same, of people just screaming in airports of, let me on this plane. It's like, has that ever worked? Ever? But it's so common. And that's, again, the lack of common sense of, especially, like, in America as well, like, do you think there's any chance that you're going to get away with doing this in an airport? And apparently there is. In their head, they can't fathom why that would be an issue and why they wouldn't be allowed on the plane, screaming like a maniac at the person on the front desk.
Yeah.
So you can understand in a McDonald's, right? Like, maybe if they yell loud enough, a manager will just give them a burger to
shut them
quiet them down. That's not going to happen in an airport.
No one's going to let a manic person onto a plane screaming off the top of their head.
It's like, there's a quote from, like, a police officer that's, like, very relevant of, like, nobody has ever argued their way out of a speeding ticket. No one's ever argued their way out of one, but there's plenty of people who argued their way into one. The same way, like, no one has ever argued their way onto a plane, but they've argued their way off of one.
People may have charmed out of a speeding ticket, or, like,
they've never argued, though.
Been given a warning instead because they, were very apologetic and learned the lesson, but not arguing out of one, not just going straight at the officer.
But I just found myself being fascinated by that concept of, not only is there videos of this happening, but there's so many and it's always the same. And you think, these are presumably the people who are, like, that I observe in the queue of, like, no one told me I had to take all my liquids out of my bag and put them in this plastic bag. Yes, they did. Well, I didn't hear it. Yes, you did. You just chose not to listen because you thought that you'd be an exception to this rule.
And that's the weird thing, right? Is that, as we say, it's not just getting told it. Because, like, you might, like, I don't know, you might be deaf, you might be blind. You might just be a bit ignorant and have like noise cancel headphones.
Wearing
or something.
headphones.
Yeah. But like if I'm wearing my headphones, I'll still see the signs everywhere. There's still multiple different ways that this is communicated to you and many, many, many reminders. And you're choosing to ignore every single version of said reminder.
Presumably because they just think that it doesn't apply to them, or they're going to be the single exception out of literally millions of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, every person who's ever gone through this airport has been expected to do the same thing. Like I said, like that footage, I'd highly recommend people out there, if you can deal with cringe and you want some like some Schadenfreude, just go watch like the videos out there of like, oh, this person's screaming to be let onto an airplane and getting tased. And there's one, I distinctly recall it was this guy who's like, okay, the pilot has asked him off the plane. Him and his wife, the pilot said, you're not getting on. Fun fact, if the pilot says you're not getting on a plane, you're not fucking getting on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the pilot's word is law in the air. And there's this dude, and he's arguing with like the police officer who's taking him away on the body cam. And it ends up with him on the floor being tased. And he's midway through being tased, and he's still arguing, when are you going to let me get my bag? Like, I was thinking, like, this dude is like, he could not be in a more disadvantageous position of, you are on the ground in an airport, being dragged out while being tased by a cadre of police officers. And he's still in his own head thinking, but I'm going to get on the plane now. Then he's still asking, like, I'm going to be late, you've got to let me up. It's like, how are you not getting what's happening right now?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the vibes of like, I think I've brought it up on a podcast before, of like the couple that got kicked out of like that exclusive Disney club.
Okay.
And it was like a man got caught being like inebriated in Disney, like falling asleep on a bench.
That's also another trend as well when I was looking for those clips. So like people getting kicked out of Disneyland.
Yeah. And like super drunk to the point of passed out on a bench in Disney. They get kicked out. They argue. They get kicked out of like the exclusive like Club 77 or whatever it's called. And then they take Disney to court to argue that Disney were in the wrong and like it was a medical problem. And then like a couple of years later, they've continued to fight and go through the courts. And it turns out that, yeah, they just lost. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars fighting Disney to just get told, your assholes, go home. And it's like they just can't accept that they might have been in the wrong at some point.
Yes. And that reminds me of like, you know, it's not pranks, but it's similar of like just someone who's completely unable to admit they're wrong. And have you ever heard the story of, and I have his name here, I've looked it up, Jeff Carter and his ordeal with the bin?
I've heard of the name Jeff Carter, but that's quite a generic sounding name.
It is. So, this is a story that was concluded around a year or so ago, but it was ongoing for about 3 or 4 years. And Jeff Carter, I've got the story here, it's the Daily Mail. I don't really want to give him credit for it because it's fucking Daily Mail, innit? But, you know, they've got an overview of the story here. So, Jeff Carter first went to war with his neighbour, Trevor Goldsworthy, over the weekly bin collection in rural West Cornwall in 2018. And basically, what this dude did is, he moved into the neighbourhood, and the weekly bin collection, this farmer put his bins outside his house, on his property. And this guy, Jeff Carter's like, can you move your bin? And Goldsworthy was like, no. I'm legally allowed, like... And initially, that might sound like that guy's been a bit of an arsehole. It immediately becomes apparent that Jeff Carter was the instigator because he couldn't accept that the guy wouldn't put his bins away because apparently he was like reversing his car onto the other guy's property and was annoyed that the bins were sometimes in the way. And that's why he wanted to move his bins.
But it's that guy's property and that guy's bins. He can do what he wants.
Exactly. But what Carter did is he took him to court to try and get him to move his bins. This is going to
go very well for him, I see, Karl.
And as you might expect, it didn't go anywhere because it's an open shut case of this guy's bins. He is requested by the council to leave them outside his property once a week so they can be collected, and it's on his property. There is no case here. Jeff Carter spent £1 million of his own money fighting this in court. And what he ended up doing is he ended up parking in the space in protest because he can't be wrong. And what the farmer did is he hired a moving truck, like a cherry picker, and picked up his car and moved it.
Right.
That pissed the guy off even more. And the guy, we have it here, he cleared out all of his savings and then eventually had to sell the house that he bought, paying his legal bills. And do you know what the funniest part is? After it had all been said and done, and the guy was asked, like the farmer who initially started the thing, after he'd done it, he moved the bins. After this busybody neighbour had literally bankrupted himself trying to fight it in court.
Yeah, there's one that I'm reminded of as well that's like...
But I'm just going to put it here, like, so we have here, after the latest court ruling against him, because he took it to court multiple times, he's liable for a legal bill of £400,000 from the other side. So keep in mind as well, like, if you feel inclined to feel bad for this guy, the farmer he was suing spent nearly £500,000 on legal bills. That's why his bill was £1 million, because he didn't have to pay just his bills, he had to pay his neighbour's bills as well. And for like 5 years, his neighbour had been paying those bills. And he wasn't allowed to sell his house without the permission of his neighbour, because they would be entitled to all the money.
Yeah.
What does it remind you of, Lucas?
So there's just a thing that I was reminding myself of. There was a story here. So there was a woman, Jenny Field, got evicted from a £420,000 bungalow because she lost a lengthy legal battle with her neighbour over a 1 foot strip of land. So they spent an estimated £113,000 in legal fees because she was convinced that her neighbour had moved the fence by a foot into her property.
It was a really great one. There's a lot of stories like this of just like elderly people who just can't be wrong. And oh god, what was it now? But it was a show like Nightmare Neighbours from Hell. And it's an interesting show to watch as well, because I think like someone just randomly like started uploading them to YouTube. I think over like Christmas I ended up watching like a bunch of bad reality TV while I was relaxing, and it's really funny because sometimes it's very clear that the person who's like my neighbour is the nightmare neighbour is the one who's wrong.
Yeah.
But because they're the one who's like willing to make a fuss about it, they get the coverage. Mm-hmm. And one of them was like, speaking of bins, this like girl and her dad who were like, yeah, our neighbours, nightmare neighbours from Hell. What do they do? Well, we put our bins outside their house, and they kept kicking them over when they were leaving the house for work in the morning. And we think that's really rude of them. And you can tell in their head, they are in the right. They are entitled to just put their bins outside their neighbour's house because they don't want to look at them. And say, well, what did you do to prevent your neighbours doing? Well, we covered them in like Axle grease, so if they grab them, it's like staining their clothes and stuff. And then for some reason, they pushed them in front of our car and got grease all over our car, so we tried to sue them for getting grease on a car. And again, in their head, they are 100% in the right for doing this.
Unironically thinking, yeah, we are the people in the right here.
And complaining to the council. Or there's another one of like this guy who's like, yeah, some neighbours moved in and they built a fence. It's like, oh, was the fence misplaced? It's like, no. But I previously reversed my car over their land to get out and now I can't. And the previous neighbours never bothered that I'm doing that. And I'm annoyed that they're not. And then they complained to the council. And they were like framing it as like their neighbours being in the wrong.
Cutting off access to what they're doing, right?
And they went to like the Daily Mail and the Sun and stuff of like, oh, OAP pensioner who's a veteran, who's a widower, is being denied access to land he'd had access to for years. And it's like, no, it's not his land. He just doesn't want to drive out from the other side of his car park.
Yeah, because that's what I originally saw of that that story that I was telling you about the person who was evicted, of like 77-year-old OAP getting evicted from her house for like legal fees. It's like, what the fuck happened? It's, oh no, she spent £100,000 plus in legal fees trying to convince her neighbour to pay for a fence to be moved by a foot, and doesn't regret losing her entire house over fighting that fight. Yeah,
like rather than admit they were wrong, they're literally willing to, sell their house to try and prove that they're right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's fascinating. I found it here. There's another one here. I found so just this is like published after the fact where someone went to interview that guy. After all had been said and done, the farmer arranged for his bins to be collected from a different place and moved to the other side of his property.
But again, stand up to bullies. Like, on principle, that other person that wants you to not put your bins there can go fuck himself.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you can imagine. You already know how this Mr. Jeff Carter approached his neighbour to do this, right? He didn't politely knock on his door and say,
"Move your fucking bins."
Yeah, like in it, you could see a situation where that would have gone completely differently. Like if he did not politely on the door and said, "Look, we moved here. It's nice area. Is there any way we can get you to move your bins somewhere? Maybe we might slip you a couple of quid. Help you build like a shed for him or something like that if it bothered them that much." But instead, the guy was willing to spend £1 million and bankrupt himself because he couldn't admit he was wrong.
It's fascinating. But
if anyone wants like an infuriating watch, like if you can deal with like something that's going to really piss you off, there's a show. Okay,
I was going to say this is the kind of show that like at least the Nightmare Neighbors one. That would be the kind of show that I would just find infuriating to watch.
Yeah,
I'm just like I like hearing about these stories. I just say like the Schadenfreude aspect of like just seeing them get the comeuppance, but watching like an hour-long TV show, reality show of them complaining about this shit, just
or like the arsehole, or the person who's clearly the arsehole and instigator, framing it as if it's their neighbour's fault because they don't want to deal with their shit. Like there's one where it is a lady. Like, it's not from her perspective, but it's like some guys telling the story of like, oh, my mum had a nightmare neighbour, and it was a friend. And they were friends for a while, but then she got sick, and she just told her friend that she wasn't allowed to come around anymore. And just those people who just like a switch goes off of like, okay, you've one single slight, and now I'm gonna let her define my personality for the rest of the time. So they went on this like 2-year campaign of just harassing my mum every day, and there's footage in the thing of like, here she's just over the neighbour as my mum's on like fucking dialysis from a cancer treatment, just saying, I'm glad you've got cancer. And like you see the son talk about like, it's really hard to see that and not react.
Yeah,
and I say it's a frustrating watch, but if you can deal with this, it was like 3 episodes of a show. He never got another one because I think people were too pissed off. And it's called The Complainers. And you can find like a rerun of it on YouTube. Just type in The Complainers Channel 4 documentary.
Right.
And it is specifically about people who complain. And they have like one episode on people complaining to like utility giants, one of people complaining to the council, and one of people complaining to companies. And there's one specific episode where it's this guy who's complaining to the council. And it follows the journey of this old man. And you can tell from second one, he's the arsehole in the situation. But he's utterly convinced that he's right.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just one of those situations where like, it's like years and years and years ago, just he had one interaction with someone from the council and he felt like he'd been slighted. And he wanted an apology. And the person didn't respond initially, but then after a couple more complaints, wrote an apology. And that wasn't enough. And they follow this guy, and he's telling stories like, yeah, he's been doing it for 15 years, and he's banned from like every council building. And it just shows him like every day he calls up his council, and they've got his number, and they show the person who answers the phone, like, yeah, we've got a specific person who just deals with his cases. And he answers the phone. So, yeah, sorry, again, he's got your number, we've given you a response. Is there anything else I can help you with? It's like, I'd like to speak to him. It's like, you're not allowed to speak to him. He's got a restraining order. Well, I'd like to speak to the person who issued that restraining order. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
And then he walks into the city hall, and you see him talking. Here's the guy who's been dealing with it for years, and he comes in like, I'm entitled to stand in here as a member of the public. It's like, we've had this discussion. You're not. You've been asked to leave. It's like, oh, I'd like to speak to the police officer who's going to say, it's like, we told you this last time. Well, I'd like to hear it again. It's like, and you know that guy is never going to be happy. Like, if the person who he's got the issue with got down on their hands and knees and licked his balls clean, he wouldn't be happy. Because at that point, it's not about proving his right. Or there's no apology that's ever going to be enough to make it whole. Because he's wasted so much of his life invested in it.
See, there's
and it is a fascinating watch.
I do think that there are legitimate other sides to this like kind of person though, where there's a good example of I've seen them on TikTok and I presume they're on other socials as well, but like there's a person that goes by like Zoe Bread, and they had a parking ticket in like Manchester.
Okay.
And they were like, right, okay, fair enough. I paid at the wrong machine, but the arrow on the signage is a little bit misleading and kind of points me towards a pay machine that's in a private parking space.
Yes.
I just used the wrong parking machine. Like, can you let me off with this ticket and, you know, give me a slap on the wrist? And it was like, no, you paid at the wrong machine and we don't think that our signage is misleading. Which then led down a rabbit hole of them going and, like, seeing, like, the statistics through, like, Freedom of Information Acts of, like, how many people have been dealt with the same thing and tried to appeal for misleading signage. And then went on, like, a full campaign of, like, figuring out the misleading signage, the fact that, like, the private parking lot is an illegal private parking lot that hasn't been paying business rights.
And that's, like,
and
you know...
going down this rabbit hole of, like, pestering them so much that the signage eventually got changed and pointed to the correct pay machine so that they could stop just, like, you know, getting a bunch of parking tickets from these people every single day.
At a certain point, like I said, it is the principle. But I have found more information about the man who here is Steve Bradbury.
Mm-hmm.
And his initial complaint was over his bins not being collected.
Right.
And he called the council up and he deemed the response to be dismissive of his initial complaint. And that resulted in him spending, and over here, 20 years. 20 years to get an apology. And do you know what the detail that's infuriating is? They say, like, they're talking to the council, like, so have you ever reached out to what we did? We offered him a written apology, and we offered him, like, you know, compensation to the amount of this many thousands of pounds. And he tore it up. And that's when you realise it's not, like, he will never be happy. And they have another one where it's a guy who's like, I have had no power in my house for 5 years. And it's like, oh, okay, what's the issue? It's like, there's no power. And it's you see him calling up the council or these utility companies. Like, I've got no power. What's the issue? I've got no power. What is the issue? I've got no power. You need to fix. What's the issue, sir? I've got no power. They send out a dude to come fix it. And he looks in and, okay, I've got no power. What is the issue? I've got no power. Fix it. Can I come in? Well, I guess so. Where's your meter? It's here. All right. Do you want the meter fixing? Well, it's there. Fix it. It's, okay, sir, there is a key stuck inside. Do you want us to remove that key? No. I want you to give me a power back.
And, like, I presume
for audio listeners, I'm just doing an exasperated thing of, like,
presume this is one of those key systems where you, like, pay for a certain amount onto, like, a key, and then you put that into your, like, a machine or whatever, and, like...
Yeah, and it's clearly it's broken off in there, and the dude he ran out of money, and his issue is, they sent me a bill, and I'm not paying that bill. And, like, they interview the utility company and say, look, we offer to waive his bill for the amount that he believes... And you know they don't believe a word he's fucking saying. It's like the amount he believes he was overcharged by. But he won't allow a workman into the property to replace it. And as a result, our hands are tied. If he won't let us replace it, and he won't let us fix the initial issue, there's nothing we can do. And you come to the realisation that the guy doesn't want it to be fixed. Because if it ever got fixed, he'd have nothing to complain about. And if he had nothing to complain about, what the fuck else is he going to do with his life?
Yeah.
And I said, it is uniquely fascinating and endlessly, like, frustrating to watch. Like I said, that Steve Bradbury guy of going into his local council. It's like, I want to speak to Mr. So-and-so. It's like, you're not allowed to speak to him. Well, I'd like a reason why. We've told you why, Mr. Bradbury. Well, I'd like it in writing. The guy literally hands him a piece of paper. I was like, here it is. He's like, I'd like it signed. It's signed by myself. Well, how do I know that that's actually you signed it? You're recording me right now, aren't you? And there's a TV camera here. Yes, but how do I know that you've actually signed that? It's like,
yeah.
He'll never be happy. And I would highly recommend people go watch it if they want to, like, sit there and go, I want to fucking strangle this dipshit through the screen. Wasted his life.
But Karl, you know, speaking of wasting your life, Is there
Yes.
any other things that like stood out to you on your wiki page that we haven't spoken about for half an hour?
Well, there's a couple. Like, there's one here that I like. Of in April of 1906, the Chicago Tribune and several other newspapers it printed elaborate 2-page articles featuring details of a recent invasion of Chicago by hordes of prehistoric monsters, accompanied by doctored photos showing Tyrannosaurus rexes invading the city. See, that's fun.
Yeah, that goes
No
to
one-
so high a level of absurdity that nearly no one's going to believe that.
Yeah, or we have one here like Taco Bell put a full-page advertisement in several major newspapers announcing they're going to purchase the Liberty Bell to reduce the country's debt and call it the Taco Liberty Bell.
See,
Harmless,
that's the
right?
kind of capitalistic nightmare shit that I can imagine happening.
We might do.
And
then
like,
here's one that I
20
just
years
thought
in the
was really
future,
fun.
if I go to America and like, oh, have you ever seen the Taco Liberty Bell? It's
Yeah. And there's just a couple that I think are quite fun for online. In 2016, National Geographic announced via Twitter that due to censorship rules, they would no longer publish photographs of animals that were naked. And then finally, in 2016, the same year, Pornhub, a site that I'm not really too familiar with. You heard of it?
Oh, no, never heard
I've never heard of that one. They changed their name to Cornhub and display suggested videos featuring corn.
Oh, you know, one thing that I absolutely, this is going to sound wrong, but adore about Pornhub is the surveys that they put out, or like not surveys, but like the statistical analysis of what people wear or watching what content.
Yeah, and it's always like, oh, would you believe it? All the conservative states with Republicans in them watch a lot of like lesbian and trans pornography.
A lot of like, yeah, very gay porn, and it's like, yeah.
It's like when they say like Grindr, right? Grindr crashes every time a fucking Republican conference happens.
And it's just, I'd urge people to go and just check out the statistical analysis that Pornhub put out every year of just like, here's the statistical breakdown of what people are watching and where and what demographics they break down into, because it's fucking hilarious. Like, obviously, people can lie about what they watch, but the data doesn't lie.
Data doesn't lie. Oh, man. I think she's just like that Steve Bradbury thing. I was scrolling through an article about him. So it's like, he's been complaining for 20 straight fucking years. Keep in mind, it's just because bins weren't put out one week.
Oh my god, like
it's like, you know, he's like, and you know, he's that nightmare neighbor that you would absolutely dread having, right? Where he's the kind of neighbor where you would not say hello to him on the stairs one day, and that's it. He's now made it up in their mind that you're an arsehole. I think to my old neighbours, I've talked about them before. I lived in this, not a flat share, but it was like a house split in two. And my neighbours lived upstairs, I lived on the bottom, like below them. And then just the day I moved in, as you might expect, quite noisy. I'm moving boxes, I'm taking stuff upstairs. Next day, I get a knock on my door.
moving day?
Oh, no, I got a knock on my door. And it's like, we're your neighbours from upstairs. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Because I'd moved from like a crappy small
being
flat
so
in
fucking
town.
loud.
And I was thinking, this is lovely. I meet my neighbours. And like, was that you making all that noise yesterday? So, oh, I'm sorry, I moved in yesterday. So yeah, it sounded like you were dragging boxes everywhere. It's like, yeah, I moved in. It's like, well, see that it doesn't happen again. All right, well, I guess it won't. A couple days later, another knock on my door. Like, look, we asked you the other day to stop making noise. Like, I didn't make any noise. We heard you yesterday storming up and down the stairs at 2:00 in the morning. It's like, I went to the bathroom. Yeah, we can hear when you do that. It's like, do you not want me to go to the toilet? It's like, don't do it again.
Don't go to the toilet again, Karl.
And it was just like I said, every other day. It'd be like a knock on my door from them or like a snide letter put through. And then one day, council came round. And they were doing like, I saw something at the bottom of my garden. Because I had the garden. I think they were annoyed because like whenever I got just as petty. And one day they were down like in the bottom of the garden with their dog. And I went, oh, sorry, you're not allowed in. That's mine. You've got access to the front garden. I've got the back garden. Can you not be in my garden, please? I didn't use it. It was like, fuck you. And they had like a council
at
guy
that point, it's like, I'm going to be petty in return, right?
Yeah. With a microphone at the bottom of the garden. Like, can I help you? It's like, oh, we didn't think anyone was in. We've had some noise complaints. Oh, for fuck's sake. Those upstairs, like, we can't tell you who the noise complaints from. It's those upstairs, isn't it? We can't tell you who it's from. And then he did that thing where he went, what's the complaint? Well, they allege that you had a massive party last week. I went, what do you mean last week? So they were saying like the noise was unbearable, so we do some background like decibel tests. Last week, so, pulled out my phone. Went, I was on holiday last week, mate. I wasn't even in. I was literally in another country. I don't know what they're saying.
Did you not realise that people broke into your house, threw a giant party, cleaned up after themselves, and left your house in the exact same way it was while you were away, Karl? Did you not think about that?
I remember the once it was Halloween, and I was getting trick-or-treaters knocking on my door. And then one time I got another knock on the door, so I went downstairs with the sweets in my costume. Because I was there with a mate having a beer before we went out, and they were knocking on, I was like, yeah, what's the matter? There's been people like storming up and down all night, knocking on the door. I was like, it's Halloween! It's trick-or-treaters!
Oh, God.
The funniest thing about that is, like, my mate was dressed like fucking Jon Snow. So when I was answering the door arguing with him, he'd come downstairs with his sword going, aha, what's going on there? And they're like, oh, stop making noise. And my mates went, shut up. And I was like, oh, don't. But do you know those moments where like you have to stop yourself laughing? Like, just the old man just looked at my mate and went, if you talk to me like that again, I know. Do you know that thing old people do where they say, oh, if I was younger, I'd have sorted you out? He says something like that to my mate of like, if I, like, you know, if it was I was a couple of years younger, you wouldn't have dared talk to me like that. I just went, shut up. Just like that. And he's like, no. It was so funny. I'm never gonna hear the end of this.
Oh, God. And thankfully you're not in that place anymore.
I'm not in that place anymore, no. And I think I've had it happen one other time. I was with that same friend, actually. We'd been out the day before, we were hungover as anything. The most hungover I think we'd been in a while. We went to CX. Just like a wander around town. We had a coffee with CX. There was some guy, and I say this like, you know, in the politest way, he smelled a poo. And we were just like, you know, as you do, talking about stuff, not anything particular, picking up, oh, I've played this. You played it before. Oh, I remember this movie. And this guy's like, excuse me, if you're going to talk like that, you need to leave. And again, I think I always remember my mates went, shut up. And just ignored him. But then he followed us around the shop for the entirety of the time we were in there. And like you could see Joe, the person stacking the shelves, just looked at us. We looked over, it's like, pleaded with us, like, you're going to do anything about this? And the guy just went,
yeah.
Like, he's not doing anything wrong.
He's
just
not
being annoying.
doing anything that you can kick someone out of a shop for, like, yeah.
Yeah. And just like, he followed us around the entire time. And eventually it's like, my mate said, look, mate, shut up and leave us alone. And he went, I'm going to call some people. And they're going to know that you talk to me like that. And my mate's like, call them then. Go on. Like, pull that hand, like, go on, you can call him. I'll wait for him. I bet they'll find you just as annoying as I do. It's like, you wouldn't dare say that to me if we were around my area. And it's like, why don't you go back to your, it's like, I was like, please stop doing this. Like, it's funny as fuck, but this is clearly a crazy person who thinks that he works in this shop.
Yeah, at some point it's like, please stop getting us into this trouble. Like, it's not worth it.
But I said, just the way he said it, he just looked at me and went, shut up. The only other time that's ever happened, like, and this is the last one, I was out shopping with my sister's dad, so my stepdad, and we were at like Toys R Us, and he was buying something for Christmas, and like he had literally like, one thing in his hand, and like there was a old couple coming up towards the till, huge big trolley, and they were a good like 10, 11 foot away, so it didn't like we like snuck in or anything, but just we saw them approaching. We've only got one thing, we're gonna step in front, waiting in the queue, and just as we were talking. Like, you could hear the guy behind of like, really rude that. Back in my day, if anyone like did that to me, I'd have fucking done him in. Or like, you know, talking a big game like that. And just, I'll never forget on my sister's dad. He just turned around and went, mate, shut up, you'll be dead soon. And turned back around. And it was just something about, because clearly, like, obviously, you let it slide initially. But then there's a certain point where it's like, okay, now you're taking the piss.
Yeah.
It's like, when I let like, and similar to like this, the people who complain, right, of, you give them that one out of like, they see kindness as weakness and just seek to exploit it. And it was that of like, oh, I've said this out loud and he's not responded, so I can just keep talking like that. And he said, shut up, you'll be dead soon. I don't think I've ever seen anyone's face drop as quick.
That's a pretty brutal line to drop, I'm not going to lie. Like, I do get it, though, like, as you say, when you don't react the first time and someone thinks that they've got free reign.
Yeah, and let's say that we heard it and you could see him, like, you know, and like clearly the older man has seen him make that motion. It's like, well, I'm just going to keep, like, you know, making fun of him, like making allusions to the fact that if I was 10 years younger, I'd kick the shit out of him.
Mm-hmm. It's at a certain point, it's just like, shut the fuck up, please.
I wish I had the confidence. Like I said, my mate used to said to my neighbour, I wish I'd had his confidence the first time they came around to slam the door in the face. Because I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be apologetic, and I think that's what they realise. I was apologetic, so I'm never going to
hear the end.
Fight back against it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
just like, my mate's kind of went, shut up.
I think we've all encountered those people, right? Of like, you give them that like little bite of the cookie, and that's all they want then. Of just...
So they see kindness as weakness.
Just all of a sudden it's like, yeah, okay, you know what? One time, if you're going to take the piss, I haven't got the energy to deal with that. Like, and they see that as, oh, that means we can keep doing that. We can keep being that knobhead to you.
We've mentioned a mutual friend of ours, right, in regards to noise, of he's got a neighbour who lives below them, and similarly went for a piss at 2 a.m. and got a snotty message from them like, you stop banging around at all hours of the day. And it's like, the exact same kind of person, I imagine, of just that slight.
Yeah,
was enough.
You know, it's similar, right? Of like, at first it was like, I'll just ignore him, it'll be fine, right? He's probably just had a shit day or something taken out on you, like, whatever. And then it gets to that point where it's like, oh, what? They've done it, like, for a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. It's like, tell them to fuck off. Like,
you've made reasonable accommodations for them. That neighbour, it was so fascinating because I just never experienced that before. Because I live below them. They're the ones who are making noise. So I live below them, so, like, every time they walked around, I'd hear them. And they were saying, oh, you walking around below us is distracting us at night. It's like, how? You're the ones on the floor above.
Yeah, it's kind of like why when I left one of my previous places, we've been there a few years, and basically, like, unspoken mutual understanding with our neighbours that sometimes they're going to have a day where they're loud, and sometimes we're going to have a day where we're loud, and neither of us ever complained to one another, because it was kind of like, again, that completely unspoken thing of just like, okay, if this was every fucking week, like, maybe something needs to be said, but just like, every few months, we might have some people around, we might be loud, or like, you know, similar to them. Every now and then they might have like a barbecue and it's loud all day or whatever. Fine. And then we moved out and we just felt the need to like just give them like a wine and a box of chocolates. So like, thank you for just both having the most like British neighbourly relationship of like, we're both just quietly going to let each other live your lives and not be a pain in each other's ass.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm endlessly fascinated by the psychology of the person who suffers a slight like that. And as you mentioned, like, it ruins their day. And in some cases, like that Bradbury guy or that dude who sold his house, it ruins their life. The refusal to admit that they were wrong, or even if they were wrong, you don't need to admit you're wrong. Just shut up about it. Just stop talking about like his bins weren't taken out and someone from the council was a bit rude on the phone. You know, realistically, they probably weren't rude on the phone.
Probably not if that's the kind of person that's willing to spend 20 years of their life fighting.
And that's what makes it fascinating, right? Of like, how do you spend 20 years and not realise you're the problem? And there's like footage of a dude like following this council member and trying to find out where he lives at home, or he's at like a memorial service for fallen soldiers, and he's there like, are you going to sort my bins out? It's like, dude, how do you not get that you're the one who's being unreasonable?
And at some point, I'm sure for these kind of people, it's like a sunk cost fallacy, right? Of like, if you spent a year fighting this fight, are you going to want to admit to yourself that you've spent an entire year being wrong and being an asshole? No. Some people aren't willing to do that. So then that becomes, when does it stop? When do you stop being that asshole? Because then all of a sudden it becomes, 3 years of being an asshole in the wrong and having to admit that to yourself, or 5 years, or 10 years.
But then after a certain point, it's like I said, that dude with the power thing, where the utility company's like, we could have fixed it years ago, but he just won't let us fix the problem. Like, the thing we need to do, he won't let us do it, and we can't go into his house and remove like his meter and replace it without his permission. So he's just stuck in a prison of his own making.
Yeah.
And as I said, it was a fascinating watch for now. The Complainers. It's on YouTube.
It's kind of similar to like when sorry, I cut you off there, but like similar to when we talked about Nathan For You, and you're like, I appreciate the effort that this TV show is putting in to like be an interesting comedy, but you can't deal with the cringe. Like, I can't deal with like
frustration.
The frustration of like, I can't believe some people are that petty and that committed to being so annoying.
But the glimpse into the psychology of like someone, of how often do you get to witness someone have like a complete narcissistic break of you've got someone like, so at least the Schadenfreude, right? Like, we've all had that arsehole neighbour. And to just see them be completely stonewalled by a company, or to see them like just wallow in their own misery for, in some cases, 20 straight years. And it reminds me of like, John, I was like falling down that rabbit hole. A comment that just, it was so simple, but it just made me realise of, do you sometimes you get that shock to the system where it kind of like just gives you like this moment of just like immaculate clarity. And it's while I was getting those clips of like people like throwing a shit fit in McDonald's because they don't got the cheeseburger or whatever.
Yeah.
Just a comment that I read is like, you can tell that this person has 0 friends. And just like this, how blunt and succinct that was written made me realise of like, it just gave me a moment of clarity on my own life of like, at least I'm not this dipshit.
Yeah.
Of just how bluntly it's worded, you can tell this person has 0 friends.
It's like, yeah, okay, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that like, yeah, maybe your life isn't the exact to the detail way that you imagined or wanted it to be, but at least you're not this person.
Yeah.
At least you're not spending 20 years of your life fighting a council because they forgot to take your bins out one time.
And you just couldn't accept the apology.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
I said, check it out, The Complainers. It can't be a wiki entry, unfortunately, because there's, like I say, 3 episodes.
So, yeah, what's your favourite April Fool's joke, Karl?
I think it's that one, the one the guy playing himself, right? Like, congratulations, you played yourself. You wasted 2 decades of your life.
You cheated not only the game, but yourself.
It's, like I said, I cannot fathom how you would not get to a certain point and realise I've wasted my life. How would you like look yourself in the mirror?
Again, I think it gets to a long enough point where you've got to double down, because otherwise the only other option is admitting to yourself that you wasted your life.
Like some of them as well, like some of the examples of like they have like that Nightmare Neighbours one, where like some people like they lose their wives, their partners, because they just can't.
If like
stop having
a member
like
of my family would
slap fight with their
constantly
neighbours,
just like for 20 years bang on about these fucking council bins, I'd stop talking to them. If that was,
I think I'd stop talking to them after like maybe like I give it like 6 months.
Well,
maybe
that's what I mean. I wouldn't let it get to 20 years. I'd cut them out of my life.
Like how long would you like let someone bang on about that? How long do you think is reasonable?
That's if it was like, you know, a friend, I should say maybe like 6 months, give it up to a year, let them figure it out, tell them a few times, give them some warnings. Family maybe a little bit longer, but I ain't giving them 20 years.
I mean, after like the 7th year of hearing the same complaint of like
that every time you talk to them, the only thing they ever mention is this fucking council and the fucking bins and the apology. But yeah, give it a couple of years and like you're done, mate.
It's like people who like they break up with somebody. And it's like, okay, it's expected that you're gonna complain about your ex, like, you know, have issues with it. Year 2 later, of course, you're gonna tell funny stories. But I've met people who were still like years down the line, still blaming their ex for some happenstance in their life. It's like, after 5 years, surely it's your problem, but that's still an issue, right? Of like, you're 5 years removed from this partner. Surely by now your life is at a point where their influence is no longer felt.
But there will
How are you still blaming them for
There
this?
will be some people that are like divorced and 20 years later going like, yeah, but
still
you know,
salty.
I bet like, you know, that's clearly my ex's fault. And it's how are you still this bitter and how is it still their fault?
That's fortunately something I've not experienced, but it is something people are aware of, right? Like the bitter, jaded, divorced person who's still years, decades later in some cases, still salty about their ex-partner. It's like, it's been 20 years.
But I'm sorry, but at some point you get over it. And even if you don't get over it, you stop talking about it.
Yeah, or people who are like, you know, still like salty about stuff that happened to them in school. It's like, okay, it's fine to still be like, you know, a bit like when you're a teenager, maybe in your 20s, 30 years old, still blaming stuff on something that happened to you in high school. Really?
But anyway, yeah. Let's speaking of moving on, let's move on and end this podcast, Karl.
Cheers, everybody.
But yeah, thank you all for listening. If you have gotten to this point, I'm sorry for like I
can't wait for someone to complain about this. Complain about this. You didn't talk about this.
Yeah, and like that's the role that you take when you get dice from us. I'm afraid. It's just sometimes we'll be on topic. Sometimes
we talked about pranks.
We did.
We talked about Pokemon.
We did.
Cheers, everybody.
The quick stir with the uncanny ability to
shout out our supporters on Patreon. Shout out all of the supporters we have over on our Patreon.
You want to see me do it again? You want to see me do it again?
I can't believe it's March already, mate.
Don't. Oh, it's like...
It's not been great so far, has it? It has not been a good 2026, to say the least. But that only makes us appreciate our big PP supporters over on Patreon all the more.
It does indeed, yeah. Like, 26 has not been off to a great start, so it's really nice to know that we've got people out there supporting us as much as we do.
Yes, it is humbling and scary. It's scary to have that much influence. And who's the first person we need to shout out? Because you've mixed things up today, and you think, no, that alphabetical order stuff, that's old hat. I've mixed up the order now.
I reversed it, Karl.
You have reverse alphabetical order. What a madman. So who's the first one we need to shout out?
Well, we need to, of course, shout out the army that is Ghost, 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 Little Ghost, 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 and they are all little ghost emojis, as I say, the little army of ghost emojis.
The thing is, though, I can't tell, because Little Ghost has been a long-time supporter now. Are there more ghosts, or am I just used to the amount of ghosts?
I'll never know. I can never remember whether there's, like, just an extra ghost been added or not.
Like, are we going to get to the point where just, like, our shout-outs at the end of our videos are going to be just the entirety of 13 ghosts? I can just upload Matthew Lillard, just absolutely...
To be fair,
going ham in 13 ghosts. Because how many ghosts have we got? That's 10
we're
ghosts.
Not far off, because we've got Little Ghost the name and 10 ghosts, so we're at 11 ghosts right
That's
there.
That's 11 ghosts.
We're so
That's
close
a lot
to
of
13
ghosts. That's
ghosts.
an entire football team.
It is. I can't wait.
We should be the easiest football team ever to beat, right? Imagine the goalkeeper of a ghost football team. Fucking nailed it, 82-0.
I can't wait for Karl to have to find a clip of football to put in now.
What did I just say? Did I just say there's a petting zoo downstairs? No. There are ghosts downstairs, Arthur. Right?
But moving swiftly on, the next person to shout out is another long-time supporter, and they are continuing on with their trend of making myself and Lucas feel exceptionally white, because their name is written in another language, and it's a language neither myself nor Lucas speak, and their name is simply Tinakui Horchata, Niklat Wan Nietzsche, Pansilil, Wan Neo Paktok, Mosla Niknetel, Ettel. And that was pronounced, and I checked, I reached out to someone who speaks this language, and they said it's pronounced bad.
Poorly. And it's funny, because you can tell the embarrassment that I felt a few months ago, given the shout to Tinakui or Chatter of just, it's been Karl ever since. The shame cam, just, it got me too much.
Like, Lucas was so embarrassed about how badly he butchered that pronunciation. He has specifically arranged it every month that name always appears when I've got to shout it out.
Don't know what you mean.
These skies, but in the sunshine in northwest Wales at RAF Mona, just up the road from Llanfair Pwllgwyn, Gellgogera Cwndrobwll, Llantysilio Gogogoch, the temperature got to 21 Celsius, that's 70 in Fahrenheit.
The next person we have to shout out is, yet again, another long-time support, which I think, it's much appreciated, because I think all of these names are at this point, but yeah.
These are among the longest relationships I've ever had of it.
True. We need to shout out, Split Screen needs to stop spending money on Gunplers when thou hasn't even opened the last 5. And
all I can think when I hear the word Gunpler is my ex who referred to Bionicle as Gunpler for white people, and I was called fucking deal. It put me on my ass for like 5 minutes.
It's such a good one.
Can you find the power? Bionicle. Each set sold separately.
And I can't specifically sympathise with the Gunpla situation, but I can sympathise with the fact that, like, oh yeah, like, I've bought many video games in the past, and just, like, that backlog just builds up, and you feel so guilty. It just, like, Death Stranding 2's just looking at me as I'm playing, like, Resident Evil 9. It's like, we only got halfway there, Lucas. I'm like, yeah, but Resident Evil.
For me, it's the manga. I bought like a shit ton of like this really bad manga that I mentioned in a video a while back. And it's like, I'm not enjoying reading this, but it cost me like £6 a book. I'm not wasting that £6.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of got to get through it, like, you know, everyone's favourite. I was going to mention who sing it, but I forgot. Is that?
I don't know.
It's a song. Because the next person to shout out is, once again, a long-time supporter, Rosalindith Memphis. And I'm going to continue on with my trend of just putting in the most god-awful Nightcore remix of Walking in Memphis. And I will continue to do so until Rosalindith Memphis reaches out personally. Like, I fucking hate that song. Stop it. You stop it right now. But the fact they've kept the same name and the same level of support means that we must be doing something right.
Yeah, that's the thing is, like, until we get a message on Patreon, I think we've got to continue with the bit, because clearly it's not a bad enough bit that they're angry with us yet.
It's like either they find it very funny or they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm reminded of that like great like Tumblr post of the person like, yeah, my dad went to like college with Ted Bundy, and every like weekend said, I'll see you Monday Bundy. And I can't imagine how much Ted Bundy wanted to kill him for it. That's what I imagine it's like. You're just like, the joke wasn't funny, and it's definitely not funny like a year into it, but now you've committed. And Lucas, moving on, who do we have to shout out next?
Well, the next person we have to shout out is another person that has continued to keep the same name, and that is Ranma Soatome. And I think I've said it different every single time. I'm just like, you know what? We'll mix it up. One of them, you know, we're just throwing darts at a dartboard, and eventually I'm going to hit that bullseye.
It's fine, because I looked up like the dub of the anime that's from, and the English people pronounce it different every time as well.
Is that just like a thing of old animes where just it wasn't popular enough and the dubs weren't high budget enough for them to care?
Yeah, it's like the most legendary like bad translation will always be Samurai Cop.
Okay.
Like in Samurai Cop, which is about a cop who wields a samurai sword, he's asked, what does katana mean? He said, it means Japanese sword. And it's just, that's not what it means. But he's committed.
What does katana mean?
It means Japanese sword.
And speaking of, like, you know, fuck you, we've got Fallopian Starship and the Tunnel of Love, which the more I hear it, the more it's a sex reference.
I mean, it's the Tunnel of Life, Karl.
Tunnel of Life? Oh, shit, yeah, Tunnel of Love. That's definitely a sex reference. Tunnel of Life, maybe it's just they had a really formative experience going through a tunnel, which still sounds like a sex thing, and I'm really trying to move away from the metaphor, but it works on so many levels.
Oh, like, you took this beautiful thing and just went, you know what, Tunnel of Love.
They're called Fallopian Starship. Like, they know what they're doing with that name.
Like, have you got a favourite Tunnel of Love jokey thing, and is it The Simpsons?
I thought you were going to say, have you got a favourite fallopian?
No, I was not going to ask that question. You took that one.
I think, like, Tunnel of Love, like, It's not quite the same thing, but I do love like the Simpsons episode where they go to Duff Gardens and they have like the It's a Small World rip-off ride.
No fear for me, no fear for you. I'll have a dog, you have one too.
I hate that this is now a thing. I'm sorry.
That would be Daddy Grunt, and maybe Daddy Grunt could take little baby grunts as well.
The thing is, like, have we ever seen a baby Krogan?
Baby Krogan?
Because I think the closest we get to a baby Krogan is Grunt. And he's like, what, 1 day old, and he's like 9 foot tall. He's like the genetically perfect mega Krogan.
It's like they've injected me with so many growth hormones. I'm a baby.
This guy's 50. He's got a mustache.
Not according to birth certificate.
I don't think there's ever been a more badass from second one, except for that one Uruk-hai in Lord of the Rings, who is born coming out of like the weird pod mid-sword swing. And it's like, that Uruk-hai has a confirmed kill, like, less than 3 seconds after being born.
Going for it.
Badass does not even begin to cover it. And, you know, and speaking of badasses, the last person we have to shout out today is, and I quote, a bee of light hits bee of awesome square in the forehead. Gah! Cracks begin. It feels like I'm splitting into two. I am available to be hired as a voice actor if you've got literally £0 and you want the project to suck ass.
Like, just get both of us in. Let's do it.
I would do voice acting for free for a fan if they can prove that they might sponsor a Patreon spot. I would swap voice acting in return for a Patreon spot.
Let's go.
I'll make that as a standing offer if you are a long-time supporter on our Patreon at the Big PP tier. I will give you some voice acting for free.
I second that, but I do appreciate the idea of like using this shout out to get us to essentially act out mini scenes.